Oh, that was an interesting experience.
I bet you it was. It's not often you see other people on your show.
I know, I know. My situation is I'm currently unhoused. I'm homeless because I don't know if I gave you the full story. I mean, you've been in my channel, so you got that, but I didn't get to tell you like in this kind of format. But I have my veteran disability, and I decided, it's been really stressful. Let me take a holiday abroad. So I tried to go to the United Kingdom, and the United Kingdom said no. The United Kingdom said no. So they just said, you got to go back to America, but you got to go back to Seattle. And I was like, what? And they didn't really give me a choice. And since they took all my money, they took my money for the hotel that I paid for. They took the money that I paid for a house. I paid for a house in Northern Ireland because I was going to Belfast.
Damn, man.
And so I'm
That's kind of
I'm literally dumped here in the middle of this city, and I can't afford a hotel. I can barely afford food. And the shelters play games. And I have to tell you this because it's just terrible. But
oh yeah.
the shelter I was staying in had a couple of beds, and they were trying to go to a new location, but they didn't make any referrals. And by referrals, I mean they didn't tell the dispatcher, hey, we're not going to be available. So they show up late. They pick us up in a van and they're like, we're going to take you there. It's like, yeah, we're going to take you there. And then they're like, oh, yeah, we forgot. It's closed. And then they just dump me in the middle of the town. And I had to haul ass to the VA because it's just, you don't understand unless you're a veteran when you have to say that America is an occupied nation. It's an occupied nation, but not by some foreign power. It's by zombies. Zombies of the worst case. Because
Yeah.
you still look at them as human. You still look at, some of the, not only the homeless people, but some of the people who walk around and they're on drugs or their minds are gone. Their minds are gone, and you
Yeah.
still live with these people and say, I don't need to wear armor. I don't need to wear like a thick jacket to stop a knife or someone trying to bite your neck out. But that's exactly what you need to do.
Walk around one of these.
You should. You technically
I
should.
do. I
And
do.
in
It's legal
certain
here.
in certain areas you can do that. In certain areas you can. In an urban city like this, it's yeah, we would prefer if you call the police, and it's just I saw the police. Like the reason I had to start the podcast was because the police was scraping some woman off the street because she tried to run herself over. And then they brought her in front of me and then launched her at me. So I'm like, fuck this. I'm turning my camera on.
Yeah. Now, that's kind of like recently I've been trying to help out another fan. Do you remember when you used to come on my show and there was
Hmm.
a fan there named Valkyrie
Yes, I do
and they
remember
were
that.
claiming to be a young trans Australian?
Hmm.
Well, they recently came out the closet and it went south like it
Yeah.
always does with conservative Christian families. And now they're on the street. Now they're in a residential neighborhood, and they're about to be or a residential home. They're about to be 18 real soon, and that means they're going to be thrown out on their own in the streets in Australia. And it's winter there, dude. So I tried to start a GoFundMe for them, and apparently people have just gone through it, just trashed it. They spread it around that it's fake, that I'm trying to get the money myself and everything like that. And I've had Brunja, which used to be Valkyrie, they now call
Hmm.
themselves Brunja. I've had them on my show a few times to explain their situation, and still all people looked at was I was talking to an 18-year-old, not I was trying to help a young person get an apartment and a freaking meal for a month so they could find a job.
You see, it's hard to put yourself out there when that's just not in the human psyche. It's not in the condition that we have that you're supposed to be charitable. It's in my condition to be charitable. These two people were hearing me curse and say really funny shit. They're like, you know, can we
Yeah,
pop
go hang
on
out
with
with this
you?
dude.
And I said, you know what? Why not? Because I would rather live in a country where even the most disturbed veteran could say, I will take a second out of my life. I will suppress my own instinct to run away if it makes sure that young people want to be engaged in the world, want to be outspoken. Because YouTube is many things. It's a place to get followers and sometimes they pay you, but it's also a way to exercise your freedom, exercise your
Yeah,
right to say things that are batshit crazy, things that are scary, things that are true, things that are true.
you see, and what I'm not getting, what I'm not understanding
Hmm.
is I brought this up last time. If I'd have looked like Chris Hemsworth, or if I'd have already been super popular and been a super
Hmm.
big, got hired by Hollywood immediately to do this kind of work to try to help people out, nobody'd have a problem. Nobody would say a word.
It's the
But
double standard.
because of the way I look, my appearance, and my living situation, they
Now,
immediately assume I'm a map.
I
All right.
like I like Chris Hemsworth. I do. I do. He does a lot for the community, but he
Oh, he
doesn't
does.
have the ability to go individually and even in his own country help a single person out. Now, I almost feel like if I met Chris Hemsworth, this is the first thing that would fly out my mouth of, do you know that this person is in your country and being treated this way? Do you know that your own country does not have a program that is sufficient or robust enough to handle the influx of that many newly open transgender people? And by the way, the transgender thing is not going to go away. It's only going to increase because it's not just the changing of the genitals, which a lot of people get caught up on. It's this reawakening to remember when clothes were comfortable? Remember when you used to care about your appearance? You used to say, I like being pretty. And it's just, there are many shades of transgender and gender fluidity that, I mean, honestly, if you look at traditional Viking clothing, that itself is unisex because the men would wear it, the females would wear it because it was purposeful. You were wearing something
It,
because
it,
you're about to stab a person in the fucking neck because you're a
it was
Viking
practical. Yeah.
fighting. You're
Yeah.
not trying
Like,
to walk down a runway or sell someone a car. Okay, so if it's that universal in your history and you forgot, then that's on you. So yeah, if I met Chris Hemsworth, I would mention this because I would say that's your responsibility. Your government isn't responsible enough.
now, in this particular circumstance,
Hmm.
she has a caseworker that just doesn't believe that she's going through what she's going through. Well, I was on the phone with Bruja when these
Hmm.
kids almost broke her arm.
Yeah.
Yeah, she walked into the kitchen to get food of all things. Just walked in to get some food real quick, and those kids ran from the living room into the kitchen and immediately started going after her. She turned around to run to get away from them because she's not legally allowed to touch them because of their age. They're like 10 and 7. I literally say they're the kids that need an exorcism, but
You're
they
talking to
poured
the
water
one
on the
person
ground and stuff
who
behind her, and one distracted her. And when she turned around to run, she slipped, landed on hard concrete right on just her elbow, and it almost broke. And
you're talking to
I
the one
was
person
pissed.
who looks at young children and says you're monsters. You're just monsters. How many school shootings done by young kids are there going to be, or the little psychopaths who will stick a pin in you before you
Just
say,
for fun.
what? It's it's symptomatic of something else going on here. Now, I understand that you don't want to try them as an adult. You don't want to give them the adult weight of having to fully face your repercussions. But if you're not doing anything, if there's not even a
You're a problem.
discussion of you don't put your hands on another person, then yeah, by all means, I'm going to actually start up. You, in my email, I want you to send me an email because I want to start a petition of not you. Chris Hemsworth should take responsibility. I
See,
want a petition.
yeah,
I
I
want a
will.
petition for that because he has how much money? He has how much money? And if he can't afford to give a transgender person a meal out of his own pocket, then honestly, fuck him. I would never see another show. I would never see another movie. Same with you. Same with Keith Urban. Because this is your country too. You can't just say, well, I'm okay with transgender people. I believe in transgender rights. And then say, I can't afford personally to give to this cause because
Yeah, no.
obviously my fans may or may not disagree. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but if he doesn't even know about this, he has to be made aware of it because you're outside this situation trying to help someone who should have the support of your own country. Now
Now you
I'm
see
in
the
my
other weird thing.
situation, and I don't expect Miranda Lambert to look at me and say, "How many times do you sing my song? How many times do you sing it?" Chris Stapleton should ever look at me, or Teddy Swims, or even Kelly Clarkson, and say, "You're homeless, and you sing our songs that many times. You sing it to Seattle that many times, and we can't even afford to get you to the CMA to perform once." But if I want to be tough on Chris Hemsworth, I have to be tough on them too. So, yeah, celebrities in general need to do their part. It's not just you get up on stage and you go home. It's you're the real leaders. You have all the money, you have all the attention, you have all the support. You're a leader. Lead.
And you see the situation going on right now is one of the other things is when Bringe's mother and father rejected them
Yeah.
for coming out as trans. The only person they had left was me. So they emailed me. I've had Bringe's email for a very long time. Valkyrie was one of my very, very first subscribers, always in
Mhm.
the show. And when I left for a while to take my little hiatus, I didn't check my emails or nothing. I left the internet alone. Only thing I was
Yeah.
doing was playing a little AI mobile game. That was it. Testing them out. A lot of fun actually. Some of them can be. But anyway, um, she emailed me and she said, you've got to come back. And she was calling me uncle. And in Australian culture, if you start calling a non-family member family, that is a huge bond. That's a huge deal. And depending on the title they give you, it's dependent upon how close you are to them. Well, I got uncle at first. Let's chill with that. I was absolutely cool with it. And I was trying to be the cool uncle I am for my niece and my nephews down here. Well,
Yeah.
then she turned around and she emailed me. She said, I came out to my parents. They threw me out. My dad said, I will only have my daughter. I will not have a son. And then I got another email a little while later that said, Clint, please come back. I need you. I've almost attempted suicide again, and the only one who's ever talked me out of it was you. And I had no idea that I had stopped Brunja from committing suicide. The day we met on her site, that was her suicide note. And I jumped in and started talking to her, and she didn't kill herself.
It's
In
it's
fact,
it's a huge responsibility.
yeah. In fact, they came out of the closet as themselves. They made more friends. They started being proud of who they are, and they started showing it off.
Mhm.
And they they partially improved on their mental state, but family rejection hurts bad when you're that young. Now, I was homeless for 6 years here in Texas. At her age, I was thrown out at 16 because I chose to be a pagan instead of being Christian. So I know that
That's
pain.
a
I know that
huge thing,
struggle.
though. Yeah.
I know that. That's why I was like, you know what? We're gonna start a GoFundMe. If some criminal that stabbed a kid can start one and get $100,000 in a couple of days, I bet you we can get you help. People turned immediately and went around and
Mm.
started claiming it was a scam, it was fake. I set everything up. When a 17, about to be 18-year-old kid called me up and said, you're not uncle anymore, you're my dad. Please help me. And I've done everything I can to help them, and everybody's done everything they can to tear it down.
When people are like that, sometimes it goes beyond a GoFundMe. It goes to you have to find the right people to contact. You really do. And I don't know. Even with this YouTube thing that just happened here, it's clear that I have to do more. I have to do more because there are people not just Brunei in Australia, but there are people who are LGBTQ across the entire globe, and they have no one. And their countries treat them as just cash accounts. And that's what offends me the most about hearing this is that that this person buys food in Australia. This person, buys clothes and makeup or whatever, and just is a consistent customer. But that's all they see. They see the customer. They don't see a young person trying to make an identity for themselves and being rejected at every turn, being injured at every turn. So why should
I,
they care?
I've had Brunj on the show many, many times, explaining their situation, explaining what it feels like to be trans or part of the LGBTQ, part of the Alphabet
Mm.
Clan. Um, you
Yeah,
know,
pretty much. It's
yeah,
cool. It's
part of the
cool.
Alphabet Clan. I ask them what it's like. I'm trying to bring awareness to what a lot of these younger generations are having to go through that people like me and you have already done, that they don't have the guidance. Man, reality is
It's
about
just
to rear back its head and slap.
it doesn't get easier. That's the problem.
No,
This
it
is
gets harder because they're like, "Oh,
what you're
you're
talking
old.
about right now is this is the formative months.
Your adulthood." It's insane. I think I lost signal. Ah, there we go. I lost signal a moment.
Oh my god, YouTube did the same exact thing. I guess it's because I was saying something that's extremely truthful of these are the formative months where you're supposed to make bonds with people.
Now, the other thing about that is you've heard the story about me losing my children for failure to appear in court. When that kid looked at me and said, "Can I call you dad?" You can ask Tiffany right here. I broke down and cried for like 3 hours because somebody wanted me to be their dad. And that has always been one of my greatest dreams. It hasn't been having a buttload of women, it hasn't been having money out the ass. It's been having a family. People here in America don't understand what it's like when you look like this, you know, when you're not an attractive person, not before the beard and everything, you know,
Mm.
if you're short, you're pudgy, you got glasses that are you're poor, or you're different in some way that isn't a beer guzzling, mud throwing, fucking boot wearing, goddamn hockey or football nut. You know, I
It's
mean, I'm
hard
not.
out
I'm
there.
blessed,
It really is. But
and that's
are you
unfortunate.
going to do it? Are you going to do it? An international adoption?
Yeah, planning on it. I plan
Why
on.
not?
They want to come here to America. And when they get here, they want to change their name officially to Brunja Elsie Ori Gage, which the significant part about that is Elsie and Ori are both of my grandfather's first names. My first name and my middle name are my grandpa's middle names. So she took her first. And that again made me cry for like an hour, dude. That it's a great feeling, and I want to make sure they're safe because when they
That's the
have
most important thing because it's not about just removing someone from a bad situation. It's can we ensure that you have the tools and the education and the support that you need to make effective decisions towards your future?
I'm trying. You know, which the thing that's really disturbing me the most is how many people are just trying to sabotage somebody trying to help someone else. They don't sit back and listen to the actual situation because nobody believes the truth anymore. Everybody wants to believe the lies. And because Brunja is a very respectful LGBTQ, people don't believe it because we've seen all these videos and all this evidence of all these Alphabet Clan going nuts and causing problems. And yes, there's a lot of bad apples out there. There's a lot of good ones out there. Unfortunately, I don't fit in with the normal people around here because of who I am. So the only other people that take me in are the outcasts. And they're either raised by LGBTQ or they're part of it. So that's why I've always accepted you guys because as an outcast, with no category to fall under except for heathen, monster, whatever else they want to categorize me as, you know, I, y'all guys accept me. I lived in a house with 13 gay men at one point because it was the only place I had to live in the winter. You know why they brought me in? I was the
Because you
best
can
cook
cook
they ever
food.
had. I could cook like a sumbitch. I could cook like crazy. I fired up that barbecue pit that first night. They bought steaks, and they didn't want me to leave. They lost the lease getting renewed back to the owner of the household because they were all homosexual, and he didn't want it happening in his house. And we all had to find somewhere new to go. But other than that, I don't see a problem with majority. Yeah, there's a lot of them out there that are causing problems, but have you noticed most of them out there that are causing problems are literally the ones that actually have mental illness that aren't something like I just want to feel like myself. No, they're literally fucking nicking the head. Okay, I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, but they straight up flew over the cuckoo's nest and landed in the cow shed on the other side because that's all they spread is a bunch of bullshit. And when you a Texan, you know grade A American bullshit, and that's all I'm seeing.
Well, I
I'm seeing a
think
bunch of paid individuals that are going out and fucking it up for everyone else. And I really do think these people are getting paid. I think certain politicians are paying them. I think certain organizations are paying them. I think the education board is paying them. I think somebody is trying to ruin the American culture 100%. And we're all falling for it. They're keeping us separated for being
I
black. They're
think the
keeping us
whole
separated
idea
for being man
of
and woman.
agent provocateurs it's alive and well. We already understand that you have undercover cops. That there's actual undercover cops. You have cops, and then you have people who just pretend to be regular people, but they're really trying to sell you drugs, or they're trying to entice you to do crime. But then you have this other type where they know that they're going above and beyond in order to start something, but they're trying to almost start like revolutionary kind of things, or they're trying to start dissidents so that they have more evidence that they need to up police budgets or city ordinance laws or change, gun ordinance laws. And we just
What
let it happen. We let it happen instead of saying, you know what? Instead of you coming into our neighborhoods trying to force us into a criminal situation, maybe we need to start qualifying people again and say, number one, are you a police officer? And two, are you a federal employee? Like, does the government pay you at all to
Yep.
be
No.
in this area? Because did I said on my show, I don't know if you were able to get it, but I had to go to the hospital because some woman decided to follow me into the bathroom. Now, I know I've talked to you on at length about my PTSD, my military sexual trauma. So something like that is extremely traumatic to me. Extremely traumatic.
Yeah.
Here I am trying to like unzip, pull up my penis and all that, and some woman follows me into the bathroom and comes straight at me, and she's holding something in her hand. I'm like, is that a weapon? Like, I didn't get a good look at it. As always, like green glasses, but I'm freaked out for a second because I'm like, I have to focus, and like I'm not trying to flash this woman, but like I'm scared for my life because I've dealt with situations where women have sexually assaulted or sexually abused me. But then I also have to say, on what planet do you smell the funk of man ass and piss and say I'm going in that door? Like if you
Yeah.
didn't know that men's means men's bathroom and you're a white American woman, you shouldn't be in a public place. You really shouldn't be in a public place.
Well,
Like if
the way
this
that
was
we
like
know
an elderly woman or like a really young kid, I could excuse it. But this was a grown woman
yeah.
who saw the sign, smelled the funk, and
I
still
saw
walked
the
in.
song. Sorry.
And it opened
My
up my
sister was
eyes
an
because
Ace of
she saw
Base
some
fan
black
growing
cock.
up.
Because she almost saw some black cock. I had the presence of mind to put it back in my pants before I turned around and say, "What the fuck are you doing here?" But because I was so startled and everything, my bladder clamped down. I started bleeding from the rectum, and I had to go to the hospital because I was just so terrified. And then I think that's a government agent. That's a government agent. And I have to
Or
ask,
something.
why would the American government waste taxpayer resources hiring this woman to come into the bathroom
While
after
watching
me? Yeah, it sounds ridiculous, but then I say, but didn't I videotape a similar incident where I was on the train in Seattle and this woman, it was Tacoma, and I got off in Seattle, but she came to the back of the train to put her hands underneath my clothes, and I'm videotaping her hands underneath my clothes. Like, you
Yeah.
cannot tell me that that's a normal behavior for any woman,
Now, maybe American women, but I've
which
been
is
talking
why
to
I booked a holiday as far away
to
from
another
them as
country.
possible
Yeah.
because I said, at least give me the illusion that if I stroll up here looking like a Van Helsing, that you're gonna just leave me alone.
Yeah. You know, ain't that lucky, brother?
No,
Unfortunately, there are
no,
people who
no,
are,
no,
and
because
all
they
this
just
time.
they just shoved me right back here, and like I didn't think that I would be going to the hospital. Like right about now, I would be in Belfast watching the World Cup. Like
Gotcha.
I had this house booked for an entire month. I spent a lot of money on this country, and this country is like, nah, no, you're not coming in here.
Yeah. By the way, guys, and Ian, I am sorry I'm smoking, but I did have a seizure earlier today. In fact, I broke my TV when I did it. So
I'm sorry to hear that. No, no, no. Your safety is important, and on anything, YouTube has to understand that sometimes people need to medicate. Like if you need to take your pills or whatever on camera, it's not
sometimes,
glorifying drugs or something like that. If it's a something that a doctor could prescribe, like a doctor could prescribe you nicotine.
yes, they could. They used to, in fact. They used to prescribe nicotine for headaches, even though I found it can cause them when you smoke too much.
Well,
But
I mean, you could probably
they
relieve
also
that
used to.
headache by smoking it after sex. But what doctor's actually going to recommend you get some?
I don't know about you, but wrong head's aching at that point because I use the other one more.
Oh, can you imagine? Take two Sheilas and then meet me in the morning.
I can't. It's swollen.
The swelling will not go down.
Oh man, I'm wrong. And you see, I don't have conversations like this with Brunja. That's another thing. When I'm talking with Brunja, we're talking about cultural exchanges, music, movies, video games. In fact, Brunja wants to join a game of X Tier,
Mhm.
my game that I'm creating, and
Okay.
they want to join that game, and I'm going to play.
You know what? It's you have to sometimes reach a hand out and pull someone out of a bad situation. I applaud you for even considering. It's going to be a lot of paperwork. It's going to be a lot of paperwork and spot checks, and they're going to ask about your finances, and they're going to say, "Well, what can you provide?" And you have to stand your ground. Stand your ground because you offer something more than just money. You
This is a
offer
post-adolescence adoption.
education.
It's a this is a post-adolescence adoption. It's a lot
Hmm.
easier than adopting a child.
Hmm.
Basically, you're adopting an adult,
Yeah.
so it's
So
not
that's like
part of a law.
legally.
It is legal. What you're basically what it's like is the law was created back whenever Ellis Island was here, and it
Hmm.
was a huge thing, and all the immigrants were coming in. I found it's a blue book law. We just don't use it very often. And what it means is that a family of people can adopt a lone immigrant that has no one else and bring them into their family and make them a part of their family. And it was usually because those people would come over and America would just give them the last name Smith. Well, you had fucking 500,000 Smiths and none of them looked the same. There you go.
Same here. My father immigrated into America, and I don't know how they got the name that they did, but it's so fucking non sequitur. And I almost want to
Well, you see,
say,
my
is
last name was
could they
originally
at
Gaid.
least try? Could at least try.
My last name was originally Gaid, and then it got changed to Gage. The only name that didn't change was Norton, my mother's maiden name. Um,
Hmm.
she and her family come from Northern Ireland. Now, back in the early 1800s, late 1700s, somewhere around there, and I'm talking like 1790 to 1820, somewhere around there. A Irish nobleman supposedly fell in love with a French hooker, and because
Hmm.
that was against the rules, they fled to America to survive. They took
Hmm.
exile and they fled to America, and that's where my mom's side of the family came
Oh my!
from. Kings and whores.
I mean, you say that, but I mean, if you really look at the numbers and the amount of promiscuity in the modern age, can you really say that with the OnlyFans and all of that, that we're not at the same exact level?
That's a good point. That's a good point, brother. That is.
I mean, you have to put it in perspective back then that there really weren't a lot of jobs for women
No, there really wasn't back then. During the early 1800s, I think the most women could get was teacher,
or
nurse at a
governess.
hospital, nurse at
Hmm.
a hospital. They could run a general store. They just couldn't own it. And I think they were allowed to work in specific textiles during the American Revolution, but
Hmm.
that was it. You know, I mean, the the telephone operator was originally created to to give women a job, but it was because a lot of the American Revolution we spent time trying to figure out things. By the time women started getting their rights, we had it figured out, but we were all turned into douchebags by then. It's just retarded. And we've only seen the downfall of America since its creation. 1920s men were men. You know, you saw somebody in need, you helped them. Why? Because we were supposed to be one nation under God. And that's what the Good Samaritan and Jesus Christ himself would have done. That's what Moses would have done. That's what Noah would have done. They saw somebody in help and in need, they helped them. That was who Christians were. Now, do you know Jesus? No, well, then fuck you. You know, that's all
Yeah,
there is to it.
if you read any of the comments that were in the last chat, a lot of these people were like very religious, very adamant about it, but then they say the most hateful, vile things, and it's just, are you even a part of the same religion that you're trying to talk about? Because that's just not how you're supposed to behave. You're supposed to
Well,
have a warm, open heart.
one of my favorite, I'm not Christian by no means, as you guys can see.
Hmm.
I'll get a little closer. I wear a Mjolnir around my neck. I am of Norse
Hmm.
descent. I have German and Swedish blood in my system. So I claim my Norse side because it's majority of what's in my blood is Germanic.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
with that said, I'm not Christian at all. I am Norse pagan. I am also true.
Hmm.
But I use this Christian Bible verse regularly on Christians like that, which is really, so you see a speck of sawdust in my eye. How can you remove it unless you remove the plank from your own eye? Because how can you see the speck of sawdust in my eye with a plank blocking your vision? Look it up. It's in Matthew.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say that, they're just like, I thought you were pagan. I wasn't raised pagan, bitch. People like you changed me. You know?
It's hard to say faithful to a religion that is filled with hypocrites. Because at least with pagan, you know that there's bullshit out there, so you try and be as honest as possible. It removes your ability to just be two-faced in a way because you're when you're grounded into the earth, when you're grounded into nature, when you're grounded into your own history, your own family history, all of the nonsense just fades away.
It becomes irrelevant.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that I'm going to get a little offensive here. All right. So to Christians, sorry, but not sorry. Kiss my big Norse ass. All right. So here's where I'm going to get at. Why would I want to follow a faith that, first off, look at how the Pope dresses? No offense. You look
Mhm.
ridiculous, dude. Now look at the guy on a lot of the high priests and stuff like that. Look at their outfits from Egyptian times, from the times of the pharaohs and everything like that. Look at how
Mhm.
they're painted. Headgear's almost the same. They're in long, flowing gold and white robes. Their staves are almost the same. The shepherd's staff is a modification of the ankh. Even the fucking Pope carries around a staff that has the shape of an ankh on it. Now, when you do that, and then you turn around and you look at the history of Christianity, first off, you're a freaking young ass religion. Okay, you young as hell. The only thing younger than you is Scientology. So, with that part also said, I'm going to get here to this point. There were several hundred thousands of historians around Nazareth and Sea of Galilee and all these other places that Jesus Christ walked. Hundreds of thousands. And not one wrote about Jesus Christ. Not one. Do you think a guy that was literally causing all this incredible shit to happen wouldn't have been
You would
written
mention
about?
it. You would mention it. You would make
You would have been more than
statues over
fucking
it.
mention it. You convert and run to that bastard. I'm sorry.
If you're healing the sick, then yeah, I guess I
Paganism,
don't know.
what I'm getting at is paganism and natural based spirituality. Those are the original faiths. Those are the original religions. Not your Christianity. Your God did not make my world in 7 days. Your God did
Nobody.
not make this world 4,000 years ago. No Jewish man by the name of Yeshua, not even Jesus, he was named Yeshua. And Pontius Pilate did exist, never wrote about him. Would have written about that situation big time. Second, or continued,
Hmm.
you also have the simple fact that why the hell would I want to bow on my fucking knees before a guy on a stick than I would stand beside another with an axe prepared to fight your ass? Why would I want to turn the other cheek and let you hit me again when I can bury an axe in your head and look at you and go, stupid, you shouldn't have done it? You know?
This is one of the things that I always want to say is that when it comes to religion, nobody likes to say that you take a little of the good and the bad from everything else, and then you run to a fucking Kinko's and press copy like several times, and then you start adding in some stuff. You start taking away some stuff.
Well, there's
And
also
I
the old
always
saying,
wanted to ask about Charlemagne, Charlemagne the Great. You know, the guy who pretty much conquered Normandy, conquered England,
I was
conquered
actually
this
about to
entire area. He was a Scandinavian person, right? Yeah.
he
So why
originally
is it?
was a
Why
Dane.
did he convert? Why did he convert unless he was smart enough to realize that it is the opiate of the masses because you don't want to just be the king because a king can be replaced because a king is the strongest man. The king is the strongest man. But when
No, he
the
wasn't.
king is
The church was the
ordained by
strong.
God, that's the point. The king ordained by God,
And who
divine right.
ordained it? The priests. Who was it that ordained by God, by the men of God? The church had control over everything. That was why it was invented in the first place. Yes, Christianity was invented. It was invented around the time of Caligula in order to control the pagans that walked around out there. Now, I might be getting that name wrong. It might have been Constantine, but around the rise
No, no,
of
no.
Christianity,
What you said was powerful enough because I've been spending the last couple podcasts talking about food safety and food nutrition and this idea that even something as simple as the shampoo you use be- is detrimental to your health because it's just filled with chemicals. And if you were a true pagan, you would go out to your herb garden, you'd pick some fruit, you'd pick some milk, you'd milk a cow, and you'd make your own shampoo. And you would eat that shampoo too, because you would understand that if you cannot eat what you put on your body, it is not good for your body. It's a
now I agree
simple
with that.
rule. It's a simple rule.
Well, now there are certain berries that unless you want to look a different color than something else that we have on our natural human spectrum, like blackberries, don't smear it on your skin because
Well,
you're going to turn
no,
out perfect.
no, you shouldn't do that.
I learned
But
that as a kid.
you know, I look at the supermarket and I buy a shampoo bottle that has a coconut on it, and then I try to shampoo my hair with it, and my hair falls out.
And
I
you see, here's the funny
dislike
thing.
being homeless, but homeless means that I don't shampoo or wash my hair. And a lot of these homeless people who are walking around here, they're walking around with full heads of gorgeous hair. This white man I got on the bus today, he was obviously of Scottish Irish descent, but you could tell because his hair was the perfect curl. The perfect curl, as in it was so wild and luscious, he almost was black.
Shirley Temple. Shirley Temple
Yes,
curls.
yes, that kind of
You want to
curl.
know why I know that? Because back when I had long hair, and I used to have hair down to here, brother,
Hmm.
if I would take a shower and then just brush it and let it naturally dry, it curled just like that. And it would go all the way up to here. I used to have long ass hair, man. I don't like shaving. I didn't like cutting my hair. It
Hmm.
felt a lot more natural. Actually, I'm straight. This is a straight man learn about LGBTQ people instead of being pissed at them. So if you want to take that judgment shit, you can take it right back to yourself, shove it up your ass, pull it out your fucking mouth, and eat it the goddamn hell again. Because I don't want to fucking hear it. Get the fuck out. This is a good
Well
man
said.
here. This is a friend of mine. He has issues. He went to fight for your fucking country, and you want to pick on him for being gay? Ha! I'm picking on you for being a fucking worthless ass piece of shit troll. I told you guys, my videos, I'm being serious. I'm done with this. I can't say these words around a year-old kid, but I could damn sure say them around him. So you want to have a problem with the LGBTQ community? Go learn about it. Don't just get pissed. Go figure out what drives them. Makes you the better person. It's sad that a pagan has to tell you, a Norse pagan has to tell your ass that over you Christians that are supposed to accept everybody. Do you not remember that Jesus Christ was said in the Bible to walk around with whores, thieves, and beggars,
He
lepers, and sick?
ran around with 12 disciples, right? 12 dudes?
13. Mary Magdalene was technically a disciple. They just couldn't
Okay,
officially make it one because she was
13.
a woman.
So, yet still, where was his lust for women? Where was his. If hearing the truth means that it's homosexual, that scares you, I'm just at a loss. I'm at a loss because there was a time in like Sparta or something like that, or Greco-Roman times, where Gay and heterosexual people were on the same team. We're on the same team because you had real enemies. You had Persians invading your land, and you had to say, am I going to let the butt fucker guard my ass, or am I going to go rush toward a Persian who's holding a spear and then there's an elephant coming my way too? It's know
I
your
want to say,
priorities.
I'm gonna make a joke real quick. Who's gonna guard your ass more? The one that is just your best buddy that wants to get home to his friends, or the gay guy that has no family to go home to, that's literally been watching your ass the entire fucking time, but has the respect not to push on it. Yeah, guys, I'm going for the one that's literally got a crush on me because that motherfucker's gonna die for me. You know, and that was
That's the
something the drill
truth.
sergeant told me.
That's the truth.
That was something the drill sergeant told me because we had a gay guy whenever I was in basic training. He was straight up admitted, and they said, "Hey, keep that shit away from fucking higher ups." And he said, "Why?" He said, "Because the best friend that I ever had saved my ass more than anybody else. Was gay as springtime and loved me like he wanted me in a wifey way." And I was like, "Oh shit, when did you figure that out?" He said, "At his going away party." He said, "That's the whole reason why he guarded me the whole time. He was in love with me." And I was like, "Oh shit." I mean, shit like that happens in the fucking military.
But
It's not just military.
it
Back
makes
then, it was
sense.
real
It
shit.
makes sense. You want to be able to have a real conversation with both sides, heterosexual and homosexual, and just realize that you need allies. You really need allies in life. And you might want to say, well, I love this woman. I love this. She'll be my wife. She'll be my girlfriend. Until what? Until what? Until divorce? Until death do you
I
part?
learned that twice. Now, however, I do
Because,
believe that my Tiffany is the third and final chance
oh,
for
of
marriage.
course,
She's also the last girl I'm dating.
of course, but you want to be able to say to most men who deal with divorce, deal with those kind of things, why did you marry her when you just really wanted to have sex with her? Like, marry your best
Now,
friend.
well, here's the deal. The first time around, this was I
Hmm.
did not realize that I was in the middle of a schizophrenia spell,
Hmm.
and lasted almost 3 years. But anyway, I was actually dating Tiffany at the time, and I got manipulated whenever it's kicked in,
Hmm.
and I left her for another woman who, as soon as we had children together, she completely changed and told me the real reason, like pulled me off to the side and said that I was a wallet from now on. Do not expect anything from anybody. Do not expect to be able to make any rules or make any decisions revolving around my actual biological children or anything like that because my job was a wallet and that was it. And when she said I was going to be putting a house out on their parents' property and paying for all the bills and everything like that, I said, okay, cool, because that got me off the street. Well, well, out of hotels anyway. I was working as a welder at the time
Hmm.
and working for Dragon Products in Silsby. And they took in they said, but you can't live here. You have to pay everything. You can't live here. You have to show that you can take care of two houses because you have twins. I was like, I make $16 an hour. I weld steel and aluminum. What makes you think I can't take care of two twins? No, they have to have absolutely everything they want. I said, you're they would have the thing. All I gotta do is take the boys. They're gonna love it. And she just no, no, those are my kids. You have to prove you have to earn the right to be called their father in my eyes. I'm like, so me literally taking care of you the entire because she had a disorder called arthrogryposis, which made her bones not form properly in certain areas, her legs mostly. So she was bound to a wheelchair. Now that's most people looked at me and asked me a lot of questions, dude. Why are you dating a crippled chick and stuff like that? I looked them straight in the eyes and said, because they deserve it too. So that's basically she pulled on my heartstrings and everything like that. And I was like, I don't care. I don't care about the age. I do care about that. But I'm like, I don't care whether you're not as attractive, if you're one or a two, if you're beautiful at heart. That's what I give a shit about. Why? Because I've been an outcast my entire life, and I've spent my whole fucking life around animals as my only friends, the only people I
Same,
knew I could trust.
same. You know,
You know,
I'm
but the difference is
struggling. I'm
the
struggling
difference
without
is the
my
animal,
dogs
bro.
right now. I'm
Yeah,
struggling.
I know, brother. I hate that you lost your dogs. Man, that
Yeah.
they were gorgeous.
Gorgeous and intelligent and caring, and I'll just tell you the
I
difference.
would see them, dude. I think I could have. I think I was gonna be probably the only person that you would pimp slap for touching them because I wouldn't help. I wouldn't help myself. You could have slapped me anyway. I was still gonna do it.
But the difference between my dogs and regular people is I'm sleeping on the pier. I'm sleeping on the pier here in Seattle because I couldn't find a shelter. As a veteran, I couldn't find a shelter in Seattle. That's how little they think of veterans. But I and my other veteran were both on the pier together, and we were taking turns because we're both military, and we're like, okay, I sleep and you sleep, and then we'll keep an eye out, because we have some stuff that we'd rather not see stolen.
Yeah, no, I
I
totally
stayed
understand.
up. I stayed up as much as possible. I took extra shifts, and I said, look, you get as much sleep as possible because if I close my eyes, I am just, I'm done. I know myself. I know myself. So I'm like, I'll take extra shifts. The
So heavy
one
sleeper.
time, the one time that I let him, take a shift was the time that the police come over. And he was as far away from me as he possibly could.
Gone.
Wasn't wasn't saying anything, wasn't trying to shake me awake. Wasn't trying to shake me awake. And it's just like he still texts me. This guy still texts me, and he's like, oh, how are you? How is your day? And I'm like, dude, I will never fucking,
Talk to
like
you again, dude.
treat you the same exact way. It's like
No.
my dogs treated me with more respect than this person did. Because you know what my dogs would do? They would, even in like the hugest PTSD episode that I had, where I didn't even let them near me. Like I was just so freaked out, I couldn't even let my own service animals near me. They would still be like, no, my place is at your side. I will
Yeah.
guard you until you fall asleep. I will not sleep until you are safe, till you calm down. Till you calm down, I don't care how many times you kick me off the bed, you kick me, to the another room. Not literally kick me, but like you push me or put me in another room, and it's just
I
like
know
no,
what
no,
you
no, no,
just
no.
meant, brother.
I know that you're going through a PTSD. That's a service animal. That's a service
Yeah.
animal. And I had to give that up because some little kid decided to come onto the bus in her autistic, spastic self and grab my service animal. And of course, me with my PTSD, I scream, and these idiots are like, "You can't scream at someone for doing that." I'm like, it attacked my dogs. So to save them, I had to say, you know what? You can't be my service animals because I can't be put into a situation where I'm screaming for your safety and nobody wants to respect that.
And you
So
see, honestly, my stepmom has
I'm left with nothing. I'm left with nothing, and I should go to the American government and say, no, no, no. Now you got to buy me two new ones. Now you got to buy me two new ones because you owe me for what I had to give up because you didn't have. This is an ADA case. This is an ADA case because
yeah.
I had to give up my service animals because they didn't have adequate protection. Now I know that this was a small town filled with mostly white people, and it's a little difficult when you have a veteran who's of color, and people don't want to deal with it. But I'm an
Well, I
American
can tell you
citizen.
honestly, they're just expecting you to cause issues, is what it is. And if you
Exactly.
watch, yeah, if you watch any of these videos where you actually have, people causing issues, the sad part is this is why I say they're trying to separate us. You don't see the videos where
Always.
there's white folks that do that shit unless it's a
Never.
Karen old woman,
Never.
unless it's an old Karen, and then they love showing those videos. You never you see videos of white guys going road rage. Guys, you don't see all the shit that goes on. You don't realize that it's the same, almost the same percentage. When you look across the board, at I don't remember the numbers right now, but when you look across the board, It's almost the same percentage in every group. What it is it's the most impoverished groups that are causing the biggest stink, or
Do you
it
know about the
falls
United
into,
Airlines thing?
huh?
Do you know about the United Airlines thing of, the flight attendant or the the flight desk person was trying to say that she would call ICE on a passenger because the passenger was too unruly. And I'm like, do you realize you're of color and you're saying this
Yeah,
shit? It's just
no,
like you're shit on more than anybody else. If anyone should understand what it means to be a minority, it should be you. And that's the first thing that comes out. And this is the union rep. The union
what's
rep
wrong
behaves
with
this
people?
way.
What is wrong with people? Well, what I'm getting at is the people that destroy an entire fucking fast food restaurant over French fries because they got to wait for them to cook because they ordered fresh fries. Guys, I worked at fast food a lot. Fresh French fry is code for drop a new batch of fries. That means you've got to wait 5 to 7 minutes, depending on the store. Now, this lady apparently said that was too goddamn long. They should have already had fresh French fries already sitting out. And he just was like, the manager was trying to talk her down, trying to talk her down.
Hmm.
And she just kept getting louder and angrier and louder and louder. And she goes completely fucking ratchet. And she starts throwing shit all over the fucking store, throwing the cash registers, slinging fucking chairs. The whole family starts joining in. And the next thing you know, they cause $30,000 worth of damage over a $3 fucking batch of fries.
Which
You know,
most of the time you can get for free because you eat there so damn much they'll give it to you for free.
thank you.
That is the worst thing. You could have gotten that for free and you're still fucking throwing that tantrum.
He offered
That
it to her for free, and then she screamed back, "No, now this is personal." And she started pulling the racism card. Guys, that's why it's called black fatigue. As a white guy, I gotta speak up for my people. That's why it's called
hmm
black fatigue. It exists, guys. But at the same time, there's Mexican fatigue, there's Muslim fatigue, there's white trash fatigue. Let's put it that way. Because guys, there's bad apples in every single bunch. What
and
it
it just
is you
it
gotta
unfortunately
wait.
magnifies it. It just magnifies the fear and the oppression of just you don't want to deal with drama. And it feels tiring and draining. I talked about on my channel before these two showed up about how I saw two groups of people of color and I was just like, I'm gonna walk the other way. Because they were using the N-word like every other sentence and they were being loud and obnoxious and I was like, it's an
Don't want to be
urban area. I don't feel safe. And I would like to think I'm an enlightened person, but I'm not gonna chuck out common sense. If you see something that looks like it's dangerous, trust your instincts. I mean, I'm against racism. Like, you shouldn't stop people from housing or getting a job. But if you see something that doesn't jive with your safety, then yeah, you got to fucking listen to that gut. Like the same as thing if I saw like, three skinheads coming my way, I'm not assuming they're trying to give me a hug.
nope. I agree with that. But you see, that was why as an outcast, because it all started because I'm an 87 baby, so I'm early 90s, back whenever Ritalin and
Hmm.
behavior modification meds really got their start. They overdosed the shit out of me on those in my early formative years. Like 7.5, 50 milligram Ritalin every 4 hours was what I was taking in first grade.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it fried my brain a little bit. That's part of the reason why when I got multiple concussions as I grew older, it developed into schizophrenia and epilepsy. My brain was already messed up because they pumped me full of chemicals, like you had mentioned earlier, because the school said they had to.
You do realize that that's a focus drug, right? And if you give it to a young child over time, then you're really just expanding their focus, but without any context, without
You're
any
basically giving
training.
them meth. You're basically giving them meth. It's an amphetamine,
It is.
you know.
How could they do
And
that? That's child abuse. That's child abuse. What you're describing is child abuse.
well, we did get that clinic shut down. One of
Good.
the remember when they had the ADHD cases and they said if you were a child in the early 90s and you were
Yeah.
overdosed on that that clinic was one of them
Oh my
that
God.
got shut down. That's when they
I'm
started
sorry.
reviewing
I'm
everybody that was
sorry.
a patient at that clinic
Mm.
because they were
You
just
deserve
pushing,
better.
yeah, they were just pushing behavior mods. That's all they were doing. They weren't actually even worrying about treating the kids because
Do you know what a
I
behavior mod is? That's sports. That's learning some karate. That's going for a hike. That's a behavior mod.
thank you. I wanted to get into martial arts whenever I was a kid, but they switched it out so my sister could have beauty pageants and have
Wow.
clarinet lessons and have fucking ballet. So she got all three of those, and my grandpa finally said, "You want to learn martial arts, boy? Come on!" And he introduced me to a bunch of his Vietnam buddies from around town. That's how I learned how to fight. But also, he taught me how to make things like this. This is the knife I used to carry with me when I was homeless.
Hmm.
That's what I used to survive with.
I don't understand how you can hold a medical license and not understand that childhood is supposed to be freedom, exercise, energy, exploration. That is
What
what it
I don't
means to be
understand
a
is why our
child.
education system doesn't focus on natural talents and natural passions. What I mean by that is instead of focusing on a standardized test or focusing on trying to teach them a routine so they can get used to a 9 to 5 job, I think schools should evaluate students, see what they love to do, and then emphasize that. Teach them the basics every year, let them get that out of their system for half the year so they can remember and advance
Hmm.
them. But teach them what they need for the job they want. You'll be surprised how many Nikola Teslas and Albert Einsteins and Jack Horners and Steve Irwins and I already said that. Abraham Lincoln's and you know great artists would come out of that. That would be
It's
how you make
human
America great.
potential.
You change the way we educate.
I've said for the longest time this idea of the school has to change. You have to stop telling people, sit down and learn when you should be learning already. Like the moment you walk into this environment, you should be already in thinking mode, in critical thinking mode. I almost want to say remove the chairs, remove the gadgets, remove all of it, and honestly, reenact the Civil War. Make a play
We
about
did.
it, make a video game, make a
We did.
Facebook post, make a Facebook post as a soldier, as a diary throughout the entire thing, describing it from both sides. These are the kind of things that you should be able to do in the modern
You know what we
age
did in
to
high school?
require them to learn.
What we did in high school when we started going back over the Civil War? My teacher
Hmm.
literally lined up all the desks and stacked them two on top, 2 rows high. And one side was the Confederacy, one side was the Union. And he gave us all
Hmm.
straws, Q-tips, and we were launching Q-tips at each other as he was sitting there talking about it, walking in between it, dressed in uniform for the time period.
That is so new. That is so new.
Dude, when he walked in talking about the Roman Empire, he walked in actual brass armor. He come walking in there dressed as a Roman hoplite. I mean, that's the
Hmm.
kind of teachers we need. That's the kind of passion we freaking need. That guy made history come alive. You know,
And he did it most likely for a minimum wage. He did it most likely for the smallest
$10 an
amount of
hour.
money. And without this modern age of just school shootings where People who would normally become a teacher are now saying, well, I don't want to be in a job where
I can get
I have
shot.
to risk my life. I have to risk my life for kids that aren't even mine.
Yeah.
What
Now
teacher
it does take
what
a very
teacher's going to do
special
that now?
person. Now,
To do that now, you have to be the most special person.
now, me personally, I ain't gonna lie, I don't go anywhere unarmed. I walk around with this or an oak cutter. If I can't take oak cutter with me, I at least take bolt cutter here. And that sucker is a pretty sharp little blade. Now that's only
Hmm.
because I personally, if I'm going to carry a firearm, I'm going to conceal and carry that because that's a last resort, you know. And what I want to
Hello there,
know,
Procure to Feel Good Joy Global.
thank you. What I want to know is why is it that we know that there's something wrong? We
Yes,
know there's something wrong with our system. We know
yes,
our leaders are false. We
yes.
know our politicians are false. We know our education system is flawed. We know our immigration system is fucked up. We know our economy is in the toilet. We know all these things. But we Americans, who, as the citizens, have the right to stand up and make them change these things. That's why we
Hmm.
have the Constitution. It says we're allowed to stand up to the government,
Yes.
but we're not doing it. We're not
You
doing
know
it.
what?
Why? Because they've got us concerned about who's black, who's white, who's straight, who's gay, who's trans, who's Muslim, who's Christian, who's pagan. They got us worried about all this shit that doesn't fucking matter. What matters is your family safe and can your kids have a great future? Are our
It's
leaders telling us?
because they don't allow us to grow up. We never grow up. We're constantly in this case where it's very YOLO. It's very, do what you want. It's the James Dean kind of attitude of who cares about 40? Who cares about 45 or 60? It's live for now or, die.
And
When we should be
you're gonna figure it
thinking,
out when you reach 40. I'm 38 years old, and
yeah,
I remember my life
now
being
that I'm in my 40s, I'm looking at things and I'm saying, no, I don't have to do things the same exact way. In fact, if I when I have children, I'm going to be able to say, no, you are homeschooled. You are homeschooled because I will never relinquish my children to the American government. The American government breaks our children, breaks them. It stretches them over this rack of just insane expectations of athleticism and intelligence and sportsmanship and just all these things. Like, I appreciate good sportsmanship, but if you can't commiserate with your own child and say, I wanted you to win, I wanted you to win. And I understand you want to be better, so let's practice together until you. That is what it means to be a parent. You actually involve yourself. But if you are a child who gets pregnant and has a child, when will you be an adult who makes adult decisions? And one of those adult decisions is, I'm still your parent. Because
yeah.
it's very easy to say, remember that time, we were able to, have sex in the morning and sleep in till noon before this kid fucked everything up? I want to go back to that. So we're going to send this kid to a bunch of strangers who aren't related to you. Because that's what a school and a nursery used to be. A school and a nursery used to be, well, that's your aunt. That's your uncle. They're going to teach you some arithmetic. They're going to teach you some basic stuff. But they're related to
Or at
you.
least
And for
a
the
town
most part,
elder.
we trust them. We somewhat trust them.
Well, that was another thing I brought up. Had I been a high school teacher and
Yeah.
trying to help Bruja
Mm-hmm.
and had been pen pals with them,
Mm-hmm.
because that's how mine and Bruja's relationship started, pen pals.
Mm-hmm.
And had I been a teacher, nobody probably would have said shit. But I chose a kid all the way across the world to try to help because I knew the backlash that was going to come from trying to help somebody get on their feet for the first time. Because as a young adult, I remember how terrifying it was when I was kicked out at 16. The first thought through my mind wasn't how am I going to graduate high school? How am I going to buy Gucci? How am I going to get on the internet? The first thought through my mind was how am I going to stay alive? Now I lucked
Yeah.
out. I lucked out. I had $400 worth of camping gear that I had built over the years, birthdays, Christmas, things of that sort. So I had what I needed to survive. I just needed to develop skills up here and, of course, in the hands. So I just started pulling out the survival guides I had in my book. I started using my own imagination to work with the tools I had around me, and I started developing a love for bushcraft. And that saved my life. That kept me alive. The skills that my grandfather, my dad, both grandfathers taught me. That's what kept me alive. One grandfather went through the depression. One grandfather, was the oldest of I think 7 or something like that, and had to take care of his family after his daddy died in Korea, and then he went off to Vietnam. So and then came back, bought the steel mill he had been working at since he was a young kid. You know, I mean, it's just those are the type of things that people take for granted. They take a home for granted. They take support for granted. Guys, those who live in Texas know that in 2008 we had a snowstorm. First one I ever faced as an adult, and I was homeless then. I graduated high school in 2007. So I was homeless in 2008. I called my grandmother up, my actual biological grandmother, because my mother lived in Houston. I knew she couldn't make the trip. So I called my grandma, who just lived a town over, technically 2 towns, but one of them I wouldn't really call it a town. I call it a subdivision. But anyway, I called her. I said, Granny, all I need is a sofa and a sandwich until this storm passes. I'm still trying. I'm still waiting on information about getting a PO box and stuff because I was trying to get an address so I could get an ID. Well, she straight up told me no. She straight up told me no, and the reason being was because my uncle's birthday was in a month. That was the reason I got it. My uncle's birthday was in a month. She couldn't help. I said okay. I called my dad. He looked at me and said, "Your stepmom already said you're not allowed in here. Not unless you throw all that crap away. Not unless you quit that witchcraft shit." Because he doesn't even realize what the difference between paganism. He thinks what I do is witchcraft, but he is very, very, very old school. Like this guy hasn't changed his ways since the 1980s. But anyway, going through that, eventually I was stuck with one option, and I got lucky because this old man caught my silhouette walking through the snowstorm, and he picked me up and he took me to his house, and him and his wife helped me out. And then when the storm was over, I went home. But for 3 days, I had gumbo. I was feeling warm. I mean, they didn't help me out with much. They put me in a shed in the backyard at the time. And yeah, space heater. But hey, it was warm. It was dry. I wasn't catching hypothermia. And I had a giant fat bowl of homemade gumbo. I was happy. I was just sitting there crying as I was eating it because I thought that night I was going to die. I had nothing to protect against snow. And that's what's got me worried about Brunge's situation. They have
Because
nothing
it's winter. It's winter right now.
about snow. They do have to worry about hypothermia, but not snow.
Oh yeah.
Because it's northern central Queensland, so it's like smack dab in the north of, but it's
Yeah,
at
so
the same
not that
time
much not that much precipitation, but the temperatures do go down.
and coastal,
Yeah.
coastal, within walking distance of the beach. So I was worried. That's why I started the
Hmm.
GoFundMe because I was trying to get up about $2,000 sent straight to them.
Hmm.
That would give them enough to get an apartment and enough to get some food for a while, so they could get a job. Just give them a head start. People don't believe it. They're mad at me. They think I'm trying, like that person said earlier, they think I'm trying to groom. I'm not trying to groom. I'm trying to give a kid a start. You know, that's something nobody else tries to do. And what a lot of people don't realize is the reason why you have a lot of these trans people and a lot of these goth people and a lot of these ratchet people that are coming out of the woodworks now that everybody's
Hmm.
pointing out. The reason why you have a lot of those is because they're outcasts. They're treated like shit by friends, by family, by people around them, colleagues, peers. Everybody hates on them. and it's usually for appearance, for body size, for things that they like, and a lot of people choose to go bitter. They don't choose to try to prevent it from happening to somebody else, which is what I chose to do. They choose to be bitter and angry and lash out at everyone, and that's what these people are doing. They've had enough. They're lashing out. Now, I do not agree with a lot of the changes that they're asking for. Like, you should never have books with BDSM in elementary school. Guys, if you're going to talk to kids about that, wait till you give them the talk that every school used to do, that I think that they might still do. But I know we were separated, boys and girls went to different
Eh,
areas, and we watched videos on
do
reproduction,
you
what we were
know
going to go through.
how much hormone triggering food is out there now, and then how much bombardment of sexualization is just in the culture whatsoever. I mean, we look at someone like Lady Gaga and her early videos, and we say, "Oh my God, that's so brave, they're so artistic." But can you imagine a young kid looking at that and not understanding
Copying
the
that, the parent being
the
okay with
the power of sexuality and sensuality of I can wear this, but I respect myself to know who I can choose to share that part of my life with.
it.
But
Now,
that's a deeper conversation. And a lot of people don't want to have deep conversations. So sometimes when you have those books out there, when you just talk about adult things, it desensitizes the kids and the adults because it's never about coddling the kids. You could tell the kids, you know, anything that kids are dropped off by kangaroos. You could say whatever. They'll fucking accept it. They're sponges. They'll just go with the flow. The problem is you have grown adults who never talk, who never say anything about what's going on, and they're afraid to even mention what's going on when it comes to their bodies. Some of them never even say they're pregnant when they're pregnant because they don't want to explain the process. That is the
now,
level of just censorship that we impose upon ourselves. So
here's something
I
else that
agree
I
with
agree
that
with.
these books are very sexual, but can you blame, most people for having those books when you have to say, how else are you gonna shake these adults to open up their fucking mouths and start talking about it to
Yes, but
themselves
at the same
and then
time,
also
elementary school is not a place to talk about sex. You're gonna do it in the last 2 years of high school, is what I'm saying.
but by then it's already too late. It,
I understand that, but you got to understand it's American culture and everything like that, brother. Unfortunately,
American
brother, you
culture
got to
is
make
definitely
a compromise
American culture
somewhere.
is definitely the one that you would have to say you're the least innocent out of all of them. You watch
But
beheading videos, you torture cats, you chase each other down and bother each other. And then by the time you're in high school, you've already had sex. You've already had alcohol binges that put you in the hospital. You've taken every pill that you could shove into your mouth. You're not innocent. You're not innocent. So at least if you start earlier with just this is out there, by the time you get to that point, you would have said, okay, well, I know what this is. I know what no means no. I know when no means faster. I can navigate that because
now,
men are growing up and they don't know how to navigate no means no.
now
Women are not able to navigate no means no. And
I
that's
agree.
mostly because they never started learning, okay, what is the facial cue for get the fuck away from me, get off of me? They never learn that because you never get a safe space as a young person to say, is this okay? Is this okay?
No,
It's a rush. It's a rush. For children growing up, sex is a rush to how quickly you can tell your friends that you just had sex, how quickly you can take a picture of yourself having sex and post it on the internet or post it on the school message board. That is
but
the
that's
issue.
where I'm coming in with. We need to change the culture as well. Parents need to wake up, because what you just said is a
Yes,
big fucking problem. Okay,
it's a
I
huge
have a cousin.
problem.
She got pregnant at 14. You know,
What?
and we were all pissed. The funny thing was, Her mama wasn't. All she cared about was being a grandma. We looked at him and said, she's 14. You need to quit this shit. And the way you raise a child is going to be dependent on what they want because I didn't even give a shit
Hmm.
about those activities until I was almost out of high school. Then I gave a shit. But I was raised
Hmm.
differently from my sister. My sister went, like you said, straight down that I can't wait to be so old I can do this. And she jumped the gun on a lot of things. And she ended up
Hmm.
doing a lot of things before she was mentally and physically ready for it. And now she's a ghetto hoe. I love her, but she's a ghetto hoe. She's a drug whore. And I know this. Her kids know this. That's the reason why they turned around and they're like, we should have been born to you. That's why that's why they hung out with me so much. That's why I introduced them to Gator Boys and to things like I introduced them to Godzilla. I introduced them to instead of SpongeBob and cartoons that are literally designed to make you dumber. I introduced them to things like Silverhawks, G.I. Joe,
Hmm.
Thundercats, He-Man, She-Ra for my niece, which she liked He-Man better anyway. She's got a tomboy. In fact, her favorite show turned out to be Gator Boys. And she said it's because, the big guy in the hat reminds me of you. And,
Aw.
they had seen me catch snakes for them and show them off, catch baby raccoons just to show them and things of that sort. And, because of that, my niece went on to be a park ranger for Yellowstone. You know,
Hmm.
my nephew is now, by the work ethic I taught him before I got sick or before I got diagnosed and didn't realize that I was already sick. He's now a
Hmm.
manager at a Dollar General that he also even helped build the inside. He walked up there the day it was being built, and during the time they were building it, he
Hmm.
turned around and put in an application for the same store. Now he manages it.
Well, that's a good thing. And when you give young people chances to gain responsibility, when you stop treating them like
Treating them
little
their age is a
imitations,
big thing.
little imitations of humans. It's like, no, they're humans. So they'll reach adulthood at some point. That's the part of the brain that keeps shutting off in our heads of when you see a kid, that's an adult to be in the making. You can still mold, you can still guide, and you
That's
can
my big
keep
deal.
doing that, but you got to
All
keep them
right.
in the conversation. You have to talk to them, and you can't talk to them like, okay, well, the stalk this. It's like use the real word, use penis, use vagina, use
It's
menstruation,
biologically
use
accurate.
those
It's
real words,
scientific word.
biological things. Men should grow up and not have to giggle when they hear that a woman's on her period. They should understand that that's a biological process. But you
What
still
happened to
have men
fart
who
jokes?
giggle over it because they never grew up. You
I
never
mean,
treated them like an adult.
now that's what I was getting at. Okay, when
Hmm.
my niece and my nephew and all them were growing up, at each
Yeah.
phase of their life, I treated them age accordingly. When they were young, I guided them, I taught them all that stuff.
Hmm.
When they hit about 16, 17, they got to start being ready to be adults. At that point, I just gave them advice and said, but you do what you want to do. We're
Yeah.
just here to help you out. Now,
Yeah.
when they would mess up, we'd pull them out. We'd tell them what they should have done. That's why they're both successful. We actually showed them what they needed to do. I wasn't taught this. I was basically just told, get out. You're not Christian. Get out. Your stepmom doesn't want you here. And
Oh.
that's what happened. I ended up out homeless after that, and I've been on my own ever since. Yes, sometimes I get help, but what you guys don't realize is this is the first time I've had to ask a parent for help in over 2 decades. The last time I asked for help, it was simply, "Hey, I'm $100 short on rent," and I paid it back the very next payday.
Mm.
But other than this is the first time I've ever had to live with my parents since I was 16. And I hate it because it's taking so long to get back up on my feet because I need to be able to save the money. My dad doesn't make it easy. You know, we're basically paying for a household when we just live in a bedroom. And I offered him some rent, but he don't want to take it. Instead, he wants to control everything. But he's always been that way.
you know, I have to put this out into the universe in general, but I'm trying to build something in America, in the world where it's a little post money. It's a little post money where it's if you wanted to buy a flat screen TV, you can go and buy a flat screen TV. But if it came to something basic as housing or food, you just said, that's a basic human need. We're never going to deny that for you. We're never going to do that.
Yeah.
So I know you feel strongly about Texas, and I feel strongly about country music. I almost feel
You know, I
like
hate country.
I love country music. I'm a country music artist.
I'm a rock and roller.
So I love rock and roll. So we
That
can
well,
agree upon that.
I do like a type of country music. I like tavern music. Like, have you ever heard the Ballad of the Sleeping Scotsman?
I should.
It's a good one. I used to sing it all the time with my buddies every time we played D&D and we'd enter a tavern. But
Mm.
the story is about a Scotsman who gets drunk and passes out on the side of the road, and two maids come walking by,
Oh, that
and
song. That song. Can you tie a
yes,
ribbon on
I
it?
know it by heart. I know it
Oh
by
my
heart.
God, that fucking deplorable song.
But I'm learning some of the new ones that they've got out now that I've been finding recently. Like there's one that I really like called Equal Dirt, and that one
Hmm.
talks about a dragon man walking into the tavern, and he's like, "You guys look up, and all you're seeing is just fangs and scales and a tail. You're not looking at what I do." You know, why is it that if you're covered one of the verses goes, why is it that if you're covered in flawless white and I am just a beast of night, oh, how did it go? You are full of flawless white and I'm a beast of- oh, basically it talks about what's worse, the creature that's a monster on the outside but righteous on the inside, or the man that hides a rotten soul inside of his body with a smile. And what he
Yeah.
gets to by the verse of the song is it doesn't matter
Hmm.
if you're king, it doesn't matter if you're homeless, it doesn't matter who you are. We all walk under the same sun. We all live on the same earth. And when it's all
Hmm.
done, that same earth will claim our bones, no matter who you are.
Yeah.
You will be put in the same dirt as everybody else. And that is a quote that I really like. That's why I really, really like that song. Because people look at me and they see a monster. They don't give me a chance.
Oh,
No, 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 dude. I'm experiencing it. You know, that's one of the reasons why I started this YouTube.
I
I
get it.
wanted to,
I get it.
yeah. You know, like you luckily have a handsome face. I look like I'm 50, dude. I'm 38. I look like I'm 50.
And look, I've been hiding out, wearing this beard because I'm just fucking afraid of being raped. But there was a time like I don't know if I can one of these days I have to put it as a picture for my YouTube channel. But I used to be a model. I used to, and women would never talk to me. Women would never talk to me. And then now all of a sudden, there's all this stuff. But what I was trying to say is there has to be
This is
a
me now, bro.
level of you look handsome there. Look at it. It's
Yeah.
it's Irish. It's Irish Santa Claus about to give you a big present.
Now, uh, this was me just a few years ago, or just when I started the show. Honestly, if I could find the picture.
That's weird.
What's up?
No, it's just energy flare from the light bulb.
Ah, power surge. Lightning may have struck it somewhere down the line. That's what happens down here most of the time. God, I've got so many photos of Viking stuff. I gotta delete some.
The red figure wins because he's called from the logic of survival. The green figure loses because he believes in the kindness of traffic. The green figure becomes a prophet of movement in a city.
What?
No, it's a beautiful quote. Rabies Global Risk Management. Uh,
God damn it, keep going.
I
I'm
like
trying to
your I
find a
like your
specific.
name. I like your name because number one, I'm outdoors and I see a lot of mice fucking fighting and doing whatever. But also, I see a lot of feral people here. Feral people. And it's scary because some of them are batshit crazy, but then some of them are healthy. Healthy in a way that we are losing. We are losing. They like to do a joke. I love these people because they're trying to save me, and they every time I pull up my phone, they're like, "Do you have a cigarette?" Because this blue light thing is very addictive. Oh my god, what
That was
happened?
me when I started.
You have swung the axe and cut off like 20% of that.
Yeah, that was me when I got started,
Mm,
and this is me now.
yeah. There's something to be
But
said about, living your life your way on your terms.
that was part of
But
the reason
to
why I left,
yeah, but
so I
to
could
these
focus on
people
something.
who were saying, you got a cigarette, it's I understand that I'm plugged into the internet, technology, but there's a balance. There's a balance to be made. Like you can't shut down technology when it's a way to connect with people. Like this kind of conversation that we're having right now about the fabric of our society, that is hard to do with a random person. You could try to do a local grassroots movement. I'm like a block away from the grassroots movement people. And these people, they yes, and they make plans and posters and all that kind of bullshit. But they're not the type of people who are going to say, yeah, but I will boycott a business or I'll boycott the whole term country if there's something that is offensive to my soul. And those are the kind of people you should be talking to. But those people never live in your area. Very rarely.
Yeah. Now, here's something else. Now, you were mentioning guiding, young people as they grow up. One of the
Yeah.
one things that we never bother to explain to our young men, who will one day be our young leaders, what we never
Yes.
explain to them is what true leadership is, what true strength is. True strength doesn't come from being able to lift the most or kick the most ass or shoot the best or anything like that. True strength comes from service. True strength comes from looking at someone weaker than you and saying, I'll be your strength. I'll stand for you. True strength is guiding those who don't know what they're doing. True strength comes from sacrificing everything that you can to make sure somebody else is safe and you still come through on the other end. That's true strength. True
That's the
leadership,
only reason. That's the only reason I have my honorable discharge.
true leadership is not standing back, letting your men run in as cannon fodder. True leadership is not sitting back, making laws high on a pedestal, separated from the rest of your country. True leadership is not sending people in to die if you're not willing to do it yourself. True leadership is walking among men, standing beside them, fighting at their side, telling them you're gonna be remembered, if not by anybody, by me. You are standing there in the fire with them. That is a leader. George Washington was a leader. He stood there amongst his men. He fought right there on the front line with everybody else. That Patton was the same way. General Patton, that was a
Mhm.
leader. You know, Abraham Lincoln stood before the whole country and said, "We're going to make a change." That's true strength. That's true leadership. You walk among your people. You fight with your soldiers. You stand up for the weak. You stand up for those who are lost. You guide them. You need to teach that. That right there is honor. That right there is what it means to be courageous. That's what it means to have fidelity to not just your race, but your freaking planet, guys. We're not. We're all the same on the inside. Peel our skin away, and everybody's going to look exactly the same. You're just either going to be fat, skinny, or what the hell, you know. Because there's going to be more plastic and metal falling off of you than a
Oh
freaking
my
beauty.
goodness. Can you imagine like half the people in Orange County of California? You take the skin off and you're going to see giant silicone pads
Yeah,
just
and
fall
there's more
out.
plastic than a Barbie doll. Okay, no,
Like
no, that's
half the butt
unexpected.
cheek is just like Brazilian cement.
You go to start peeling away, and all you'd hear is the Terminator thing.
I swear, some of them are more bionic than a damn coffee
Have you
maker.
seen what happened to Jim Carrey? Did you see his last appearance? He don't even look the
No,
same anymore. His
I
eye
gotta.
color is different. His face isn't as
Mm-mm.
stretchy. He isn't as expressive. He looks like somebody injected a shitload of Botox into it. It's getting weird.
Which one? Which one? Oh,
I
Richard.
don't want to think about that, bro. Osama, your mama didn't shave you right.
But you want to be able to say that these are things that you should be teaching in school. Like, I appreciate that they teach American history and world history and chemistry and physics. But if you do not give leadership opportunities and not just a lab project together, which really only one person really does and the rest just copy, no, you need to actually assign kids projects in their own neighborhood so that they feel a part of it. Because
Well, I
everyone
remember in
dreams
I
about
don't remember.
going out into the world. They don't dream about, well, if I stayed here or if I ever had to come back here, I want to make sure that the convenience store isn't on fire.
Actually, I'm getting married. I've been married twice now, working on my third.
Definitely both virgins. You can
This
tell as gay as
DMC.
I am that I'm definitely had sex at some point. But
But
not lately with this speed.
no, I will admit I have a low number, but that's only because I was selective about who I slept with. You know,
Yeah,
I
you
yeah I
that's something to be proud of. A lot of the people who have crapped on virgins, it's like, do you see what's out there now? Like, you have monkeypox, you've got super AIDS, which they never talk about. You have herpes and gonorrhea. It's like, you want to be that person with half like a genital wart, like all over your face? Or do you want to be a person who says, you know what, I found the right person, and
now
I still am healthy. I want to be healthy. So
now
sometimes you
with
just got to say
with
no
my
to everyone.
situation. No, I got
You've
that, Richard. I do understand that. I know I'm not an attractive man. I get that. I've always either been short and fat, which I can't really say I'm fat anymore. I'm just wearing a t-shirt. But I used to always be short and really fat. I was over 200 pounds, almost got up to 300 at one point. So
hmm
yeah, I know what I look like. I don't care.
And guess what? You found someone who is beautiful.
I love my Tiffany. I do. Tiffany,
And
you're
guess
awesome.
what? She appreciates you. She appreciates you and what you have. She went to fight with her boss for you. That alone, that alone should show you that maybe there are some deeper things.
Tiffany actually told me something at one point that surprised me, and that was love doesn't have a price tag. But yeah, she told me that at one point because I don't have a lot of money, but she told me love doesn't have a price tag.
That's a
She'd
beautiful
been
statement.
she had been looking for me to have a second chance since I broke up with her when she was in college. I did not know
Oh,
that. She was chasing.
oh.
I if you've ever seen a Kevin Smith film, you're going to get this reference. I was her chasing Amy.
I understand that reference so much because that's one of my favorite movies. Because on
I
a
just love
certain
Kevin Smith.
level, on a certain level, you still want to root for them. You just wanted to root for them because they overcame heterosexuality, homosexuality, not in a conversion way, but in just a kindred. I feel something for you, and I'm not ashamed of what I feel. And that honesty is just beautiful to look at. And yeah, I understand that, you have your ways and you have your preferences, but to know that you love someone that deeply is just, it's their best film. To me, that's one of their best films.
Yes, Kevin Smith did an amazing job with Chasing Amy, and I love that film. And when me and Tiffany got back together,
Hmm.
you know, I knew it as soon as she moved in and we started living together, and I had a seizure in front of her, and I had one of my really bad schizophrenic episodes right after. Like I don't even
I don't
remember
even
exactly what
remember
all was going
exactly what
on.
all was going
Apparently,
on.
I was
Apparently,
in
I
confused
was confused.
and blubbering like a big baby. But she sat through the whole thing like a champ. And when it was over with, I cried out of my shame, because that has been a lot of the reasons why I've lost people, because of my kookiness. And well, that's when she told me love doesn't look at that. It doesn't care about that. If you truly love somebody, you'll find a way around it. And that's when I looked at her. I was like, no, no, you're your wife number 3. And that's it. Because now after Tiffany, I'm out of the dating scene completely. I'm if she broke up with me today, you'd never see me date another woman. And the reason being is because it's hard for me to find a date, first off, that's not trying to use me for something. And then the last one is I just don't want to go through it anymore, bro. You're mute. You're mute.
I know that feeling. You want to make sure that this is the right one, because if you go back out there, you just know that this is a cycle. This is a cycle. So you want to
You missed
break
the
You missed
that
the
picture
cycle.
picture
difference from a
difference from
year,
a
dude.
year,
I have
dude.
to
I have
take
to
the
take
hit
it
again.
again.
Hit the damn gym. He he is the gym. When you swing that axe, when you swing that hammer in that forge, you are activating muscles that bodybuilders would never even try to hit, because if they did, they would actually fall out in pain because they've never used those muscles before.
The neat
The neat
thing,
thing,
Oak
Oak
Cutter
Cutter
is
is
twice as
twice as
heavy as
heavy as
Cold
Cold
Pain.
Pain was.
If you devoted your entire life to swinging that axe, you would be more buff than most bodybuilders.
Give me a
Give me
second.
a
I'm gonna
second.
put
I'm
my
gonna put my
headphones on,
headphones
man.
on, man. Connected.
Connected. Can you
Okay.
talk for me?
So what I was trying to say is, when you
Let me
swing
see.
that axe, or when you're in the forge and you're swinging the hammer, if you devoted your entire day, your entire life to doing that, you would have the most phenomenal body, because that's how your body's supposed to move. You're not supposed to lift things up and bench press. What the fuck is a bench press to someone who fights for a living, to a Viking who has to jump over logs and jump over roots and vines and all that, duck under people? It's real
Focus on.
physicality. Like, you need to lean into your history. I mean, not to please this guy in here, but that is your true power. Don't hit the gym, hit the damn wood log. Yeah, that's the truth. David, that's the truth. You're missing out on muscles, you're missing out on fitness, you're missing out on bodily functions when you go to the gym, because the gym will make you look like the gym's for that. Clint, are you back? Can you hear
I'm
me?
back. I was
Okay.
having. Yeah, her Bluetooth was on too, so it was messing with mine.
Okay. So what I was trying to say is, the gym makes you focus on the wrong muscles. It'll make you focus on your chest, but not your shoulders. It'll make you focus on your abs, but not your back that you need in order to make sure that you can see your abs or at
What's
least
up,
keep you upright.
Ohan? Ohan's from my channel.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Ohan's from my show. I'm here talking with Ian. Of course, as you can see, man, I was telling him about Brunja's situation. We were talking about the state of the education system, things like that. But welcome in, brother. Welcome in, man.
Welcome. Glad to have you. 6'4", 230 pounds in really good shape from the gym. There are people who are in good shape from the gym. It's just
I'm not gonna lie.
with his history and with everything, he's medically unwell. The fact that he can even make a sentence, dude, everything that you do is a miracle. Do you understand that? Everything you do is a miracle.
I don't
Everything
see
you
it
do is a
that way.
gift. It's a
I see
gift.
it as a power of men's willpower.
Yeah.
So not only that, but that's why I wear Thor's hammer. I see praying to my Norse ancestry and the love I have for my Norse ancestry as a strength, and one of the things that they really believed in is, hospitality, taking care of those around you. I got you.
38, you've only been in the gym twice in your life. That's an accomplishment.
Now,
Most
I will
likely, it
say
means that
this.
you had something else besides fitness to drive your life forward, which in a way is an accomplishment. But never forget that you have to live with that body as it ages. And what you do with your body now is how your body will be when you're older. If you were
Now,
a distance runner younger, then you will be someone who can walk up a hill when you're 60 or 70.
now, I will say this: the muscles that I have been focusing on are the muscles that I use all the time for what I do.
Hmm.
Because I'm also trying to start a business down here where I'm going to be a camping, hunting, and fishing guide, and maybe teach
Hmm.
people bushcrafting. You know, and people who sign up, I'm going to go on ahead and this is included in the sign up price.
Hmm.
But if you're signing up for the bushcrafting classes, then you get a large backpack, just military style M48 tactical large backpack that has
Hmm.
pouches and a fanny pack built right into it. You get that for $160, and then the rest of it is the profit that I get. But it's already going to come with some survival gear in it. But the main thing is I'm going to include a backpack and one something similar to this, a bushcraft knife with a simple ferro rod built into it,
Hmm.
and then that's what you get for joining in on the class. I'm still trying to get everything set up, get a LLC set up and everything like that, figuring out what I got to do because I'm not going to try to jump into it like I did the charity. The charity turned out to be a bad idea, and it was only because people destroyed it before it got started.
Yeah. People always try to sabotage things that are good, or
That's
maybe
true.
or maybe take people away from the system. I understand the system has its place because, do you really want uneducated people walking around causing mischief? No, you don't. So you put a television in front of them, you give them a cell phone, you say you got a YouTube video, you can watch that. But at the same exact time, I don't like the fact that you're radiating good, decent people. You're causing them to go bald. You're causing them to get cancer. And, you look at something like St. Jude's where they're doing cancer research, and, you almost want to say, well, how are you living your lives? Because if you were paying attention to that, you probably wouldn't have that much of an issue. We didn't have all these kind of issues as we do now. We had different ones, but not this.
What I think we should do, honestly, what I've always thought we should do, and it's actually part of culture in the game that I'm creating for the world
Hmm.
building process, is everybody should be taught basic medicine, but
Yes.
herbal medicine.
Yes.
Because what a lot of people don't realize is all these chemicals and all these things that are in all these pills that we use, they're extracted from nature and they're mixed together with other crap that they extract from nature and they refine and they go through all these processes when you could literally just have a garden full of plants and herbs that you know how to mix together properly in your own home to cure things like colds, pneumonia, which unfortunately pneumonia is what took the great Sam Neill from us all.
I know. Event
Yeah.
Horizon. Oh my god,
Oh my
Jurassic
God, I'm glad
Park.
you mentioned that one before Jurassic Park because I do love Jurassic
Event
Park. Don't get me wrong.
Horizon Event Horizon awakened me to a level of sci-fi horror that I never knew existed. In the Mouth of Madness is my
Psychological. Oh my
fucking
God, that's a
favorite.
great one.
Oh
Oh
my
my
god.
God.
If I ever see that one
H.P.
on
Lovecraft level bullshit.
the amount of animatronics that they had to create, the scene with the axe, that scene with the old woman with the
Yes.
axe, that
Yeah,
is
actually, yes. Oh,
so fucking meta.
ooh.
So fucking meta. Like one take to do all that because it was super expensive, but worth it. Worth it. It sticks with you. Better than any
Yes.
CGI. Better than any
Now,
CGI. They don't do that
one of
again.
my favorite, one of my favorite movies that I grew up with was Silver Bullet by Stephen King. I love that show. Mainly because it was the very first time as a kid I saw somebody who I would have been friends with, the little boy in the wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was the friend with the disabled kids. I was the friend with all the kids that had issues. But because I was functional, I was just on a shitload of medication because they thought, because I was bored in
Mm-hmm.
school, they thought that I had ADD and ADHD. Turned out it was schizophrenia and brain damage. But I was functional, so I helped these guys. I
Mm-hmm.
helped teach them and everything like that. So I was sitting there going, dude, Marty was cool as shit. I wanted his wheelchair, man. Sitting there puttering around on a go kart. I'd be riding down to the store. And then when he got the actual Silver Bullet, the badass motorcycle wheelchair, I was like, man, oh, I want that. I don't, I just want that to cruise around in.
Oh my
That was,
god.
oh man, as a kid, it was awesome. And then he freaking uses a bottle rocket to beat a werewolf on the first encounter. I used to walk around with fireworks just in case I ran into a Rougarou. It was hilarious.
Aww.
But I was a kid. I was a kid. I was a kid. And then
Mm-hmm.
then I hit 5 and I got to carry around a 22, and I figured a 22 was a little more lethal than a bottle rocket.
Well, maybe.
But I also grew up on 48 acres of property, 5 miles away from anybody except for one old man that lived in our way up in the front next to the highway. And then we were bordered
Mm-hmm.
by about 500 or something like that acres of hunting lease. So I ran wild, you know. And that's what I did. I played in the woods a lot, so I learned about a lot of cryptids and stuff like that because I figured if I knew the stories behind the things that lived in my
Mm-hmm.
area, it would be scary. And then I found shit like fucking Into the Mouth of Madness and Event Horizon. I was like, I didn't even get that scared over The Exorcist,
The
but Into the Mouth of
Exorcist
Madness tripped my ass out.
in the Mouth of Madness is so meta. It's just I cannot describe just how crazy it is because it's true. It's this weird meme virus kind of story of you see the book and then the book drives you crazy and then they turn it into a movie and the movie drives you crazy and
Oh
you look
yeah,
around and you start saying, isn't that what society is right now? Like you look at something like the Joker incident in the movie theater and that wasn't technically a comic book, but it was a reflection. Like you can't deny it's a reflection. If one did not exist, then the other wouldn't happen.
one of my favorite movies that Sam Neill was in was actually based on a true story that happened in Australia. A couple went camping and their infant disappeared, and the parents claimed that a dingo took off with it. That's where we get the famous saying that everybody in the world knows: "Did a dingo eat
You
your
go,
baby?"
Hitman, baby.
Yes, that is literally he starred in the movie that started that craze. And he also starred in an old 1960s or 1970s version with the stop motion animation and the lizards with spikes and frills all glued to them fighting. He was in one of those films, and it was Journey to the Center of the Earth. He played the doctor that
Oh.
wanted to go down to the center of the earth, and that was one of his earliest roles, and it was amazing, dude. And I love old Ray Harryhausen style flicks like that.
Mhm.
Shit, I grew up on them 1,000,000 years BC, shit like that, or 10,000 years BC. I grew up on shit like that. That was the movies I was set in front of. Conan the Barbarian, Conan the Destroyer. And then on top of that, you got big truck. On top of that, you got He-Man, you got G.I. Joe, and I took those little sayings at the end, that they used to do, where they would do like the little lessons that they would teach you, like
Mhm.
be a good friend, be honest. I took those lessons to heart, and then as I grew up, I realized you can't be that guy. You can't be Prince Adam in our world. You got to be Skeletor, and the whole reason being is because that's what people actually like nowadays. For some reason, they're okay with a man walking around with a dominant male monkey attitude and not somebody who's willing to go against the flow and a guy that's willing to be nice or kind to everyone else. They expect us all to be this gruff, mean ass, get the hell out of my way man. And
It's
we don't all have to be
ingrained
that way.
into our psyche because we understand the fragility that we have. If you didn't know your own mortality, you wouldn't look at someone who is tougher or at least more flippant as a anti-hero or hero. The issue that
Yeah.
I have is if you don't look inside yourself and say, "Well, I can do that." I mean, people crap on my President Trump all the time. They don't like him. But if you're not willing to do his job, shut the fuck up. That's my attitude. Because I don't want to hear from you if you're of the mindset that he should be taking all the responsibility and the blame and you take none of it, or you don't want to. That your life is
Well,
so
that's
meaningful that you can't take your second to say, well, I'm also a leader here. Maybe not over the entire country, but every decision I make, every word I say influences other people. I pointed at that truck because it had this little saying of, it's all about you. And a lot of people in this country feel a little disenfranchised. They feel that nothing they say matters. And I had to tell these two kids that were on the channel earlier, like, what I'm doing right now, you can do too. Like, if you found this to be cool, please do it. Not for the money. Don't do it for the money. Like, I will never be consistent enough for YouTube to decide to pay me, but I do it because it's a muscle. It's a muscle that you flex that reminds you you're a citizen here. This is what it means to be a citizen. It doesn't mean you just enjoy the freedom. You are the freedom. You speak for the freedom. You speak for those who lose their freedoms.
or in this particular case with the whole reason why I started YouTube. Guys, I'm 38 years old. I was had two terrible marriages, and technically, according to the rest of the world, I'm toe up from the floor up. I'm a broken man. But I pulled myself along. I tried to make it work.
Mhm.
And I don't want to see other people in this same spot. I don't want to see people dealing with life like this. It's too painful. It's
That's why you have a
painful on me.
bushcraft
It's
pass.
painful on them. Yeah, that's why I want to do that. Now,
That's a public service. You know, the state that you're in should be paying you in addition. Like, you should get a state grant. Don't even ask for federal grant. Ask for a state grant because this is mandatory in the society that we're living in of forest fires. And what if the building that you work in burns down or is in a flood or there's an earthquake or some meteor strikes down? There's so many things that we think we know. They're still going through the wreckage of the thing that destroyed all the dinosaurs. Do you know that? They're
yeah.
still going through it. They're still finding new minerals that were in that meteorite.
Did you know that they're actually talking about an expedition now to go down to the bottom of the Gulf of Mexico, right dead center?
Hmm.
Because what a lot of people don't realize, the Gulf of Mexico is the crater.
It's a
That
crater.
is where it
It's a
hit.
crater.
That is
Ground
where
zero.
these stone. Yes, that is ground zero. Is the Gulf of Mexico. Now, with that being said, they're trying to create an expedition to go down and gather the remains of the meteorite that killed the dinosaurs. Now, the way they're trying to do this is they're trying to figure out exactly if this new technology that they've got in Japan, which they're using for cleaning the seafloor and stuff, which is where they lower down what looks like a pressurized steel trailer, and they pressurize it in such a way where it pushes all the water out. When it does that, It gives them a nice pocket of air right there on the bottom of
Mhm.
the ocean that they can go into and they can do what they got to do right there on the seabed. They're wanting
Mhm.
to do that to be able to see if they can extract the very meteorite that took out the dinosaurs. That, if it happened, would be cool as hell.
I'd honestly watch that as a primetime event.
I would
I'm
too.
that nerdy. I would watch that as a primetime event. I would actually pay movie ticket prices to go see that on a big screen because that is your history. That is your history. Because if that didn't happen, those motherfucking disgusting feathery birds would still be flying around terrorizing those poor little monkey creatures that were going to be humans one day.
That's if we made it. There was a reason
We
why
we
mammals stay
how
small.
could we? How could we? Those things were larger. You couldn't gang up on them. What ganging up could you possibly do? A squad of maybe 20 or 30 hominids against that giant dinosaur,
now,
or
who
even the
knows what?
velociraptors, which would normally hunt in groups.
Well, we think that they actually may have been like modern day wolves now, which is where they didn't always hunt in groups. When food was scarce, they would hunt in groups, or when food was plentiful. We don't know
Hmm.
which one it was. But I'm more of the opinion that there was possibly a migration that would take place. And that was when a lot of raptors would fight together and try to bring something down. But now I also believe that we could be completely wrong and they could be more like vultures or birds of prey that waited for something to be sick and exhausted and then just came in and pecked it to death, you know.
Hmm.
But it's because we weren't there. We don't know. But we do know that the killing claw that all raptors are known for was not exactly designed for ripping and tearing like we originally thought. It would have been more like, say, a hawk or something like that, where it's long and curved, but mainly meant to
Grip,
hold.
grip.
Yeah. Well, no, not they don't think it ripped anymore. They don't think the
No,
toad
no, no.
had
I
to
mean
rip
like a
power
grip,
with a lot
like
of
a
the.
vice, like a
Yeah, yeah,
vice.
grip. I kept hearing rip. Sorry. But yeah, yeah, I get you now. But yeah, they think its grip is what did it. You know, it would hold down smaller prey and do like a lot of large birds of prey do now. The existing raptor species hold it down and eat it alive. Is basically what they were looking at. You know, which I think I'd rather it rip me apart before it ate me. But
Well, that's how I feel about, being homeless in America, because as much as everybody wants to be housed, as much as they do, they rob you of your life. I know the GS tattoo has a problem hearing this. I don't care. I'm still going to say it. Living in America, living in a domesticated life is watching your life be flushed down the toilet, because if you're not racing to get back to your bed so you can finally get to sleep, you were wasting your time in front of a screen most of the time where you're not any way involved in it. That story began and ended, and you're not a part of it. You spend time on forums talking about like fan fiction and all this, like the season that would happen if the directors got another renewal. You never talk about, well, who's going to renew the apartment that you live in? Who's going to renew the food in the refrigerator? Who does that? That's you. You're the character. But you don't see it that way when you're just domesticated. At least being unhoused, and honestly, I'm upset because I'm not asleep in a bed right now, but I would rather be awake and have a conversation like this with you, because this is something that people need to hear. People need to hear that you
oh yeah,
need something more than just four walls. If you live in an area that doesn't say you can come down to the pier and just sit, and if you want to fall asleep, you can fall asleep, but you'll wake up at the end. That is worth more than four walls where you have to guard it. Can you imagine you and Tiffany living in a fucking mansion and then having to say, well, Tiffany, we would normally go to sleep, but one of us has to stay awake because those zombies, those poor people that are out there, they're coming for the house. They're coming for you. They're coming for me. So one of us has to stay awake at all times. Who wants to live that way? I
I
don't.
can get that. I don't either. Well, that's also why I try to say more. I say this a lot: more money, more problems.
Yeah.
And that's because even if I inherited a mansion,
Mhm.
I ain't keeping it. I'm
It's too
selling that
expensive.
mofo.
Too expensive.
Well, first off, no, no, this is going to sound extremely lazy of me. I don't want more space than I'm willing to clean. All right. I, it, I'm not going to have a mansion because I'm not going to pay anybody else to clean my house because that's how your shit gets stolen. No, I'm going to clean it my damn self.
You
And if
know,
it's going to take me
I would
three
pay
days to walk from one side to the fucking other and getting it clean, no,
Clint, I would pay good
fuck you.
money to see how you could interact with a hillbilly Alfred from Batman. How would you interact with hillbilly Alfred? No, 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 no,
Oh,
no, no,
man.
no, no, no. I put the possum on the table. You're gonna clean it, gut it, and then you're gonna serve it.
You know what? Now I kind of want to write that.
I had a feeling. I knew I got you there.
Oh,
I knew
man.
I got you there. There's the one thing that you would
But
probably say,
I,
Alfred, take care of this for me.
I have to I have to take and put this in there though. Right now, I'm actually working on another story currently.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to try. I'm working on a script for a video. I'm trying to figure out how
Mm-hmm.
to edit and stuff like that. So I'm pulling myself up a cheap little free video editor app. I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to find one that works with my phone. A lot of them have worked very well. But when I do, I'm going to make a Wendigo video. I'm creating a new video series called the Oliver Kane series, and the first video is going to
Ooh.
be him encountering a Wendigo. And I'm really excited about it so far. I'm 20 pages in. It takes place in the Gries Fjords of Canada, the most isolated town in Canada, next to one that's considered a research station. So the whole story is he's a bushcrafter. He goes around to different places, and yes, I threw in bushcraft for the simple fact it's what I know. But he goes from country to country, environment to environment, and he tries to learn how to survive there. And in exchange, he's going to run into natives and stuff like that that are going to start telling him lesser known legends about dangerous creatures, such as the Australian vampire that I can never pronounce his name. But it looks like a little red frog man, and when it lands on you, it uses its fingertips to drink blood from you, and then it'll swallow you, and then it'll regurgitate you and swallow you again the next day, and it'll keep doing that until you turn into one of them, you know. And I want to throw all those kinds of stories in. But this first one is going to be real interesting. So I hope that it's going to work out right. You know, I'm going to try to compare Hollywood video games and actual legends, and then the stories are written by the actual legend.
You know, you really need to do a full deep dive into it. But what I mean by deep dive is you have to document and then distribute every single part of it. Like, even like 5 second video of I am writing a chapter and don't even tell us what is in it, but just describe your process for getting yourself in the mindset of writing is impactful and interesting to people.
It's kind of impulsive, actually. A lot of times, the stories that I'll write or I'll come up with for my adventures in X tier or my tabletop
Mhm.
games that I play, a lot of them start out as dreams. Me and the people I'm closest to fighting together to take some of these things out. And that's usually how it starts. And then I turn around, I turn it into either a campaign or I put it down on paper and change the names. You know, you got cops.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens when you're homeless. They always think you're trying to rob a place or tell you you can't sleep here or you can't be here doing that. And you're just sitting there going, I ain't got a place to go, you jackwagon. So,
No, no. What's interesting is that it wasn't even about me. It was about
oh,
a fellow homeless person. I think actually indicated that there was something that they needed to see on the other side of the park. So something else was going down that was really serious. So this was more of a, it's a really bad intersection, but you would prefer to just at least tell them, don't deal with that over there so that it's safer over here.
Yeah. No, I
So
totally get that. That's mm.
it's
And
unnerving because we have a desensitization to what it means to have a town's guard. We used to have a town's guard, but now we
now we call
have
it a neighborhood
police.
watch.
We have police. Neighborhood watch still means that you would have people trained in the art of fighting. You'd have a town
Or
militia.
at least trained how to use a freaking firearm.
People don't think that way. They think, well, I'll call 911. It's like, well, 911 doesn't live in your house. 911 isn't in your building. 911 is a few blocks, maybe across the town itself. It's a lot.
Might be 20 minutes in certain places down around here. Some places will even tell you 45. That's how far away from civilization a lot of us live.
Most people
Uh
don't
huh.
have this right behind them.
Bad boys, bad boys. What you gonna do? What you
I
gonna
have to
do when
say,
it comes for
if
you?
you had to pick the safest spot as a homeless person to be in, right across from the fire station, it's
Not a
literally the
bad choice.
safest spot. It's literally the safest spot. I'm still going to have to go by the VA and give them an opportunity to see what they can do for me as a disabled veteran. But if I have to spend all my time unhoused, say thank you. Say thank you because you don't want to be in the position of the people who are in Venezuela. You know what's going on with Venezuela? The earthquake?
I heard.
Yeah, it's horrible. But then I'm not that nice of a person. I'm really not. I'm really not. Because I try to save lives. And when I look at their situation, I say, why are you still trying to be white people? Why are you still like, do you think, the conquistadors are going to come track you down if you go back to your indigenous roots for a second and say, no, we don't need another skyscraper? Because that's what happened here. That's what happened here. I don't want to be divine retribution, that kind of person, because I'm not that cruel, but I still want to impress upon them that every single one of those skyscrapers fell over. Every single office building that you said, well, I'm going to be someone who works in an office, a doctor's office, I'm going to be a lawyer, fell over. What do you do after that? Because if your first thought is, I'm just going to build it and I'm going to make sure it doesn't shake as much,
Yep.
instead of saying, why don't you just build it flat? Why don't you go to a tent? Because right now you live in a tent. Does that seem like it's going to shake? Because if the tent
Or at least a
falls
yurt.
down, you might go, oh, the canvas, it's so cumbersome. But you're not going to say, my leg is crushed and I can't get out. Does it?
Hey, GS Tattoo, are you sure the tattoo that you got isn't My Little Pony? Because that's kind of how doing it, because you're up on your high horse.
Yeah.
Sorry, buddy.
I try to see the human side of it, but how can you see a human side to the hubris of, I build an earthquake resistant building that wasn't that resistant, and then now
Well,
everyone in the town has suffered? Because if you weren't living in the penthouse with the pool, did you see that the video? It's a
no, I didn't see
penthouse
the
and
video.
it's a video in I believe Venezuela, where these people were so rich they had a pool on their penthouse, and it was beautiful. It had glass. It was gorgeous, gorgeous. But when
It
that
ain't there no more.
the building shook, and the thing is across the entire fucking town, a tile of that just like would glance and hit somebody on the head, and you say, well, why did you need it? Why couldn't you go to the pool? Why can't you go to the pool like regular people? You wanted your own pool because you thought that you were better. But how is it better for the environment? How is it better for your community if that pool now is tipped over and falls on top of people?
I don't know.
What do you mean this is poor talk? That rich person didn't want to fall out the pool either. It's common sense. You don't want to have this conversation until you're in a position where this earthquake happens. And then you never have this conversation because you're afraid. COVID, we never had a conversation about, hey, welcome back. We never had a conversation about HIV. We still haven't talked about HIV. We've done movies about it, there's plays about it. We didn't talk about it. We didn't talk about how the government would just sit there and let gay people be vilified on the news, let gay people sit in hospitals with no treatment, packed in there, burn their bodies, everything. We don't talk about this. We never did, and we never will, because we like to just sweep things under the rug when it's a tragedy, instead of trying to learn from it and say, we have to treat each other with respect. And sometimes that is, yeah, I don't fuck guys up the ass like you do, but I respect that maybe you deserve better health care. Because if you fuck
Well,
someone up the ass, they fuck a woman up the ass and she gets it. And therefore you get it. So yeah, we do
well,
need to talk. We need to talk. We need to talk. That's
I,
all.
I will say this, that I do agree with you, but this whole gay is bad, lesbian is bad. A
Yeah.
lot of people don't realize that comes from thousands of years ago when the family and the village, everybody was relied upon. So
Yes.
every male and every female was expected to bear children, to A, continue on the family line, which was very, very important.
Hmm.
B, to connect different families together to create new clans, which was also very important.
Yes.
And then C, because it was a sacred duty to them. So we started viewing people who were homosexual as less than human because they couldn't they would never reproduce. We also started viewing women that were like that as too masculine, or you know there's got to be something wrong with her or something like that. And so these people only had one path back in those days, which was become a eunuch or work at a brothel, or you couldn't do any of the other stuff you wanted to do. You didn't have trans. Although in a way you kind of did, because a lot of eunuchs were made to dress like women, and a lot of women who were taken in by certain people, like I believe Queen Elizabeth had a female lover that was disguised as a knight, one of the Queen Elizabeths or something like that, one of the queens.
Hmm.
And I'm not British, so I don't know. But
Yeah,
anyway, one of
that's
them
in
had.
the other tours that you could take. I don't think they say that part on the main tour.
I don't. Yeah, I don't think they say that at all. But I remember reading something about it years and years and years ago.
And it makes
And
it makes sense because we just said, who is going to protect and love you more than someone who loves you?
now this is something I've learned in my lifetime. The most hospitality you're going to find is from people who have nothing.
Yeah.
People who have everything, they're going to turn you away because they're so scared of losing all that shit. That's why I
Hmm.
live simply. That's why I'm just like, yeah, there's a few things that I prize because they have family attachments or sentimental value. But if I lost them, I lost them. I'll replace them somehow. Even if I can't, I have the memories. That's what matters. I have the lessons we learned and things like that throughout my life. That's what matters. It's not the items. And a lot of these rich folks are just like, that's 1,000, or $100,000 bombs. I seen a lady every now and then. I catch her on here and she talks about how ridiculous prices can get on things. She sold a $60 million thing of lipstick and eyelash liner. And I was just like, why? Why? I mean, the artisan that made that, he has a great day, but
Hmm.
why?
I
I
like to
get it.
think a show like on TLC, the Hoarder Show, should be
Mm-hmm.
renamed. It should be renamed. It should be Memories or Museum.
except for
because
the ones that have dead animals or dead people in their place, and then it's memories or mausoleums.
most of these fire trucks go to houses where they're just powder kegs. They're just Kindle, because you save things like a newspaper. You get a newspaper delivered. How often do you roll it back up and then put it in the bin? You're supposed to read it once, and then, yeah, that's just the news. It happened. Now you know,
I
put it outside your house.
I I use it to light the barbecue pit
But
or
even
the
so,
fireplace.
how much do you carry? Because if you carry too much, these guys would actually have to show up if there was a spark. But we don't think that way. I like, I'm beginning to see the light. I'm beginning to see the light. I saw the light. I saw the
Yeah.
sign. You know, the, if you decentralize Ace of Base, if you decentralize most of the human experiences you have, cooking and sleeping, and say, this is a dedicated room just for this, specially designed, then you free yourself up to say, I'm lowering the risk of doing things. Like you with the barbecue, you barbecue outside. You don't barbecue in your bedroom. You don't barbecue on top of your bed. Do you? Yes or
No,
no?
not on top of my bed, but no, but if I could build a fire pit in the middle of my floor and put a chimney up there, yes, I would cook in my room.
But that's it. You'd have to have a chimney for it. You'd have to specially design the room itself. But we delude ourselves in thinking that we're a home chef in a kitchen. That's not a kitchen. You are in the fire pit. There's no ventilation. How often do you remember people turning on the little fan above the exhaust fan? People forget to even do that. I do it.
I was making sure it wasn't my signal. It's been glitchy lately.
No, I want to be able to say that we are moving forward. And sometimes moving forward is to say minimal function. Minimal function. A
Yeah.
A room with a mat on the floor is a bed, Japanese style. There's a reason why Japanese people are living longer and they are healthy and everything, is because they understand minimalism. They understand if you go into a room, you do the purpose of the room. A tea room is a tea room.
Yeah.
A bedroom is a damn mat on the floor, and that is it. It's not a mat on the floor and your computer. It's not a mat on the floor and, a whole video game system. It is just a mat on the floor. Go to sleep, and that is that. We, on the other hand, we
Now,
have bedrooms. Those bedrooms are killing us because we refuse to sleep. We are children, infants, fighting against the natural urge to shut down.
or in my case, your brain just doesn't want to do it. That's a huge problem that I have. Is I try to lay down to go to sleep. My body's exhausted. My brain has the power of 500 nuclear powered suns. It's just freaking annoying. And that's why I posted the little short that I posted recently with the
Mhm.
frogs. They're doing a little techno song and it says, I lay down, I'm going to go lay down early and go to bed. And then it shows the little techno frogs. It goes, my brain at 2 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, they're playing around, and that's why I
That's
posted that
that's most
video.
of us. Most of
Well,
us
I've got this
experience
story.
that way.
I've
Be-
got this story rolling around in my head for the When That How's Your Name. I'm trying to get that get that out there. And man, that takes over. But my fingers hurt. Where's it? Where'd I put it? Where'd it go? Oh, by the way, I was also going to show you this, dude. I don't think I got to show you. This is my grandfather. That's the man that taught me everything and raised me.
wow.
Yeah, that's my mom beside him. But yeah, that's the man who raised me. I know my book is around here somewhere.
Well, thank you for
Yeah,
showing me the photo. Yay.
yeah. That's the only surviving photo I have of him.
Oh, scan that in, definitely.
hang on just a second, brother. Oh, with you being homeless right now, I am going to show you something real quick. It might not be that easy to get your hands on. Get your hands on something like this, man. Little tactical pouch, Velcro on the back.
Mhm.
You can carry everything you need in this. Get yourself a steel canteen that allows you to pasteurize.
Oh my god, the signal is fucking terrible.
Actually, brew.
Okay. All right. This is Clint Gage. He has a wonderful channel. Everyone should like and follow his channel. My name is Ian Iliona. I'm an environmentalist, a human rights activist, mutant, werewolf, owl. I'm a veteran with PTSD from military sexual trauma. I'm not getting any better. And I'm having a lot of health issues because of my interactions, which are almost always negative. I mean, luckily, I had a nice person who crashed my live stream, but guess what? You know, it's not a matter of shutting out every single woman in my life. It's qualifying the people in my life, men and women, and saying, okay, you know, I have been hurt in the past, really hurt. But there's a way to invite people into your life where maybe you don't trust them, maybe, you know, it's just a transactional relationship, but you have clear boundaries. And the idea that you, as an adult, can set boundaries is a beautiful thing. Like, no means no is a very powerful thing to say. So I don't have a problem saying it. You know, I'm really glad that I was able to talk to Clint for as long as I did. Signal notwithstanding, you know, it's rough. Uh, you grow up, you think I'm gonna get a house someday, I'm gonna be a father, and all these things, and then life throws you a couple curveballs. Number one, you're gay. Two, you're too smart for the bullshit that other people put up with. I see a lot of people put up with this idea that it's okay that celebrities can play pretend and live out fantastical lives. Not fantastic, but fantastical, because they're so wild and outrageous and exciting, while your life is terrible. Now, I understand that's the whole point of acting, of a distortion of reality, a distortion of truth. But if you don't really like living your life, why do you watch other people live the life that you would want? I love the show Charmed. I always stop to watch any clip in an episode of Charmed. But I watch it because I need reminders of the lessons, the life lessons that show came up with and translated into witchcraft and demons and elders and all these things, which are really metaphors for aspects of the human experience that I'm just so grateful for. Because yeah, it was a show about, you know, women who discover their powers, but isn't it about women who discover their heritage, women who discover alternatives, women who have choices? If you substitute women with people of color or LGBTQIA or even just men, does that detract from it? No, it doesn't. Because when you know yourself, when you know your history, that's where your real power is. More powerful than any television show, more powerful than any book. When you know yourself, when you know your strength, you know where you come from, you can overcome anything. Yeah, I'm homeless. Yeah, I'm homeless for the next 2 weeks or so. But it doesn't have to be awful. I might be connected with some resources. I might be connected with a food pantry. I might actually pay more attention. I like how ever so carefully the United States government is peeking around the corner with the budget truck that says, dude, if you only budgeted, you would have been able to withstand anything. Or if you put more into your savings, you would be able to understand everything. And it's no. The point of savings is not to save the money, it's to save your health, save your life. If I learned anything from this horrible homeless experience, it's the power of food. Food is health, food is energy, food is sleep. And sometimes sleep is not what you think. Sleep is not a private hotel room with fancy pillows and blankets and special robes that have monogrammed symbol of the hotel on it. It's I can put my head down on any desk or any table and I'm not carted away by the police. No one robs me. That is sleep. Sleep has always been something that's a communal thing. And somehow we just got afraid of each other. We got afraid of each other, and I dislike that. I dislike that I walk around and sometimes see people who look like me, and I don't feel comfortable enough to be near them because I'm afraid. I want to face that fear in the right way. I'm not going to go up to those people, obviously. Negating exactly what I'm trying to say. But no, I want to be able to talk to the community, speak to the community, change the community, change the narrative. Do you know how many people of color are in Venice? How many people of color are not even doctors, but just health advocates? You look at the doctor in the hospital and you say, thank goodness, we have you with all your medical expertise. I look at the person with the Zumba license. I look at the person who has the sash around them with the coins on it like a belly dancer and starts dancing. I look at them and say, you're the people who inspire your community to move, feel, dance, be happy. That's worth so much. So this is another no sleep night. It's about an hour until I can get my Starbucks goodies. What can I say? Starbucks gets me on a deep level. They're like, we know it's terrible out there. Please come inside, have your coffee, and face this terror on a different term. But speaking of terms, we can't wait till 2028. We can't wait till America changes. You have to be the change. Do I enjoy, having women shoved on me after being PTSD to the hilt? No, I don't. But does that mean that I will never talk to a woman again? No, it doesn't. I will in certain settings, mostly transactional, and I guess that's what it'll have to be for a while until I can set clear boundaries. I was very grateful that, this woman who came by, she was very respectful. She didn't feel the need to grab my cell phone or anything. She leaned a couple of times and it was a little dicey. I have PTSD, what can I say? But you just pick up a vibe sometimes that is not the energy that she was given. The energy she was given was, you know what? Yeah. So I was talking about energy. I was talking about sometimes, there's a right way to put out vibes. There's a right way to engage with people, especially damaged people, handicapped people, veterans. Veterans don't advocate for a new code of conduct. I would. And I almost want to say we just have to change everything. We really do. We need a new way of life. We need a way back toward health. Maybe back toward health is weird hair like I'm having right now, where I hate it because it's not fancy, it's not anything, but it's soft, it's healthy, it's growing. My hair is growing, my hair is alive because I stopped eating really bad food. I stopped washing it with chemicals that suffocate it. And I stopped living indoors. So my body experiences things like air, humidity, some fungus, the ability to sweat, things that we just ignore. I was bald like not a month or two ago. My hair just filled in. Just filled in. Is it the prettiest thing? No. Not yet. It'll get there. I have faith. I have faith in my ability to turn this into something that is infinitely cooler. But for right now, I guess I have to put this bad boy on. Van Helsing that I am. But even at the end of that movie, didn't he realize that they're just different shades of beasts? Until you're homeless yourself, it's a little hard to see these people as people. I sometimes look and see zombies. Sometimes. But that's not all of them. That's not me. That's not the person who directed the police in that direction over there where there was something important going on. So yeah, maybe the idea of unionizing homeless people is important.
Hey, dude. Sorry, that was
How's your
Brunja.
internet?
It's doing better now because the problem was Brunja was trying to call.
Oh, that would
Yeah, the
do it.
call.
That requires like an extra
Oh,
chevron in the Stargate.
yeah, they were trying to call all the way from Australia. They were letting us know that they're doing good now. They managed to get in a safer residential.
By the way, I send it.
Okay, cool. We actually sent them a link to your channel, so you might be getting a subscription from Brunja here soon. And they actually want to see if they can do like a tri-call, like all three of us do a show together one day.
Oh my god, we got it at
Now,
this point. Just to test it.
now I'm gonna ask you this though: if Brunja comes on here, tone down the sex talk and stuff. I mean, they are still
Oh,
18.
yeah. Well, I mean, I guess that would go without saying, eh?
Yeah.
I'd actually
So
have to put in the little description that, once again, it's a PG-13 and I have to like really moderate
there they
the
are.
chat.
Hey, Rainbow. That's Rainbow Longship. That's Brunja.
Oh, hello. And thank you for the subscription, Brunja. Welcome. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the revolution. I'm Ian Ileana. I mostly talk
Yeah,
about environmentalism and just this idea of a human revolution,
me
especially for the
and
LGBTQIA.
me and Brunja actually work on Rainbow Longship together. I've posted a few videos for them. Here we are, born to be kings. Sorry, I like Queen.
No. I appreciate what you were saying with your soul. Your soul was also saying, isn't there a way that we could elevate ourselves, respect ourselves enough to see the divinity in ourselves, but also see the royalty. The royalty. I like that idea. I like the idea that, kings and queens, it's a title for some people. Sometimes it's a heritage, but there's also just earning it, earning the respect of your people, earning the trust.
That's one of the things that I love about the Norse pagans and the Norse people back in the day before they were overtaken by Christianity. The
Hmm.
Jarl was the strongest, wisest, and smartest in the village. That's who your Jarl was. And he
Hmm.
could be overthrown by somebody better than him. It just had to be proven. That's why we had tings, which eventually went on to become called things, which is where we get the saying, I have a thing.
I'm just popping in because I have to go pick up a mate.
Yeah, they're running to go pick up a friend. But yeah, I've posted a few videos on Rainbow Longship myself. But that's their personal channel we're working on together. I'm going to be posting stories over there too from X Tier, as well as a book that me and Brunja are working on called The Rise of Shine. So that should be interesting because the main character is a young lady who is literally the reincarnation of the first galaxy, the one that collapsed and created the Big Bang. And it was
Hmm.
just called Shine. And that we're going to be talking about that too. We're just trying to get it all set up. That's why I'm looking for the video thing.
Hmm.
Because what a lot of these people don't realize, they call me groomer and all this stuff, but that kid right there claims I saved their life. That kid right there claims I stopped them from suicide twice. That kid right there claims me as dad, and I take that seriously. I'm not looking to hurt them. I'm looking to guide them. I'm looking to teach them. I'm looking to be a parent. I'm looking to influence what they enjoy. Nothing
If
further.
anything, you are somehow changing and transforming their lives by engaging them in real sophistry, thought, discussion,
We have
critical
philosophical
thinking.
discussions all the time.
Even if we disagree on some issues, we can still appreciate the sophistication of thought that goes into your argument.
That's why I like having discussions with you. They're not arguments. They're
Never
discussions.
arguments. Never
They're
arguments.
no. I argue with you like I argue with my wife, and that's weird. Okay, dude. But the whole simple fact of the matter is, I have a respect for you, man. You come on these platforms like this,
Hmm.
and people immediately just look at your sexual orientation. They look at your flamboyancy. They look at your eccentricities and your needs and stuff like that that you come on here and you talk about. And they pick on you for it. They get mad at you. Like one of my enemies who destroyed the Knights of the Holy Rose Sanctum, they posted the video of you arguing with the young girl for running up, and then they posted it as, Clint Gage's best friend in Aliana screaming at an autistic girl and stuff like that. And they were trying to trash your channel too, which is, I'm pretty sure, why YouTube just decided, boop. And, guys, come after me all you want. Do not come after my friends or family, because that's why I posted the video. Don't wake the beast inside of kind people. It's because we can only take so much. We've been through hell and we survived it. And you want to know how we survived it? Because we are not exactly nice when they snap. We're the exact opposite. It's just as extreme on the other end. And when you start threatening and attacking my family, that side comes out without a doubt, and without hesitation as well.
Well, thank
So,
you. Thank you for defending my honor there. And I posted the video myself because I want to explain what it means to be a veteran with PTSD. Because people like to dramatize it and make it glamorous and be like, I have PTSD. Like, give me a parking spot. It's like, no, I have PTSD. I am mentally challenged. And everything sets me off. Everything sets me off. I can enjoy fireworks. I can enjoy loud noises. I can't go out in public most of the time because I need to almost be cocooned or somewhat isolated just to be able to handle the overflow that I deal with.
Sensory overload.
It's sensory overload, and then here I have this young kid running up to me, and I look, if you're military, you know what I'm talking about. You think child bomber, you think of some kid in the Middle East who, you might have given a toy truck to one day, and then the next day you see him and he's handing you a bomb and he's running in the other direction, or he's trying to hug you with it, and you're trying to push this thing off. That is the level of PTSD that people who have served have to deal with. I'm not the first. So if we're not going to have this discussion in the schools of, if you see someone who's a veteran with a service animal, back the fuck off. So that's the
Now,
yeah, that's
if you
the
see
kind of
someone
thing that you need to be able to say, instead of, you know, I'm an autistic child's parent and I'm just going to let their hand go, because that's dangerous to me. That's dangerous to my animal. It's dangerous to everyone, because I had to scream to get this child's hand away from my dog's mouth while this driver is trying to drive. Now, I
now,
still disagree that I had to be taken off the bus for it, but that could have been an accident. That could have been an accident because this mother didn't want to be a parent. Now, I can understand you can be upset at me for yelling at a kid, but no one wants to yell at this parent for just letting their child almost have their fucking face bit off. Because, like, I'm sorry, as much as this dog is trained, it can react whatever
accidentally
way
poke it in
it
the eye and
decides
see how
to.
it's going to react.
I don't,
Accidentally poke that.
yeah,
Yep.
because
Now,
it's a wild animal. It doesn't know the law. I know the law, which is why I
it lives by the
yelled at
law
that
of law and
child,
bang.
"Get away from me!"
Now, I'm going to get at. I started my channel to spread awareness about
Mhm.
men's mental health originally.
Yeah,
And what it's like to have to be on child support.
yeah.
Because, guys, I didn't choose this life. It was chosen, it was kind of forced upon me. Sometimes that does
Mhm.
happen. As soon as they found out that I was showing symptoms of epilepsy and schizophrenia, they took me out of the workforce. That's a Texas thing, because most insurance here in Texas will not cover somebody with my conditions combined. If it was one or
Mhm.
the other, it would be okay. But the fact that both of them are combined means that I have to be under 24-hour surveillance in case I have an episode. That means most companies will not hire me. That is why I started my own business. Now, also to say that, I also wanted to tell people what it's like to have to pay child support. Because without that child support, I would be paying, I'd be paid about $800 a month, and I'd be able to survive a lot better. And I can't do that because they take all but $274 out of that 800 and something dollars. So that's what's got me in the boat that I'm in, and it's terrible. Now, the whole way they found out about it was I came down from Ohio and I was being tested in Ohio for it. Well, as soon as I got down, I had to do a medical examination because Ohio was still a hot spot for COVID.
Mhm.
And they wanted to do a psych eval on me because of what was in my report in Ohio. And during that time, the counselor was like, "No, you're schizophrenic." And I was like, "Wait, what? Huh? What?" They're like, "You're schizophrenic." And I was like, "Oh, well, that kind of explains a lot." And then
And yet
I
still
found,
nothing. And yet still nothing.
yeah, I know. And then that in turn causes what you were talking about, sensory overload, not just auditorial, but a lot of times you can have physical sensory overload. Imagine having a hallucination about some of the monstrosities that I've showed, that I've
Mhm.
drawn.
Yeah, you showed a few.
And you can literally watch these things and feel these things peeling your skin off, and your nerves are registering. And you got to keep a straight face because nobody believes what you're saying.
Well, most people wouldn't, but I do. I do because, like you, I'm huge into your own personal history, your own personal lineage. And as I've told you several times, you were supposed to be a medicine man. You were supposed to maybe be a berserker in some cases, but you were supposed to be a medicine man. You were supposed to be able to guide people with your visions, because that's what they are. If you can see that, you can feel that, that is real. and that should be trained and nurtured. I wish they hadn't gone about it the way they did, because I almost feel like the government owes you more money because they've fucked with your biochemistry that way.
I don't want money. I don't even care about fame. I just want to help people so they don't got to go through what I got through.
That's I feel you. I feel you on that. I feel you on that. I mean, you can't put a monetary value on your own sanity. You either have it or you don't.
Yeah.
There's no amount of money that's going to restore it.
And a lot
What
of people don't
I'm
realize.
referring to is a settlement where they accept full responsibility and guilt for it.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. It'd be nice, but I never expect it to happen. So
Mm.
I'm just going to live my life my way. And hopefully one of
Mm.
my books or maybe even my YouTube channel gets off the ground and something happens. Maybe even my business will get up off the ground. I'll actually be known for being a good guide and things of that sort, or being a good craftsman. I'll stick with that, because what a lot of people just don't believe, but my wife, my stepmom, and my dad can attest for it. I handmade this, guys.
Hmm.
I handmade this,
It's
so
well
I would
made.
know it was battle ready. So I would know I can cut a tree down with it. I handmade the whole thing. The only thing I didn't make on that thing is the leather and the strings. Yeah. Oh, and the skull. The skull was a gift from a friend, because I'm called Gator down here.
Hmm.
So he gave me an alligator skull. Actually, he gave me two. One's on my staff though.
Yeah, but the good news is that you have real skills that most people don't have. Most people would still be scrambling for how to defend themselves or a way to train their body while defending themselves. Most people will look at something like a chef's knife and say, "That's my weapon. If I ever needed it, that's my weapon." But they never practice with it. They never try and use it. A weapon like that right there, that's important, but it's not just a weapon, it's a way of life. It's the way of the blade. Bushido.
Yep. Well, Bushido is one thing. Um, with the Norse faith,
Hmm.
we have very much the same code. A lot of people can't agree on the exact wordings, but I happen to like this version, which is courage, fidelity, industriousness, discipline, honor, hospitality,
Hmm.
perseverance, self-reliance, and truth. Now, I like to try to live my life by those. It gets hard sometimes because, well, people are full of shit. But I try to live my life by that. Bushido has a very similar code. That's why I said that true strength comes through service, because that was what Bushido was all about. Not just Bushido, but
Hmm.
the whole reason why we raided in the first place, guys, was because our winters are terrible and we wanted to make sure our people survive. So that's why Viking or Norsemen went a Viking or a raiding. That's what
Hmm.
a Viking was, a raider. You know, that was what they did. They went out and they made sure that the clan and everyone they knew had wealth. That was why they raided. It wasn't for malice or anger or the simple fact that our gods are gods of war. Our gods are gods of war because where our people live was war. Think about it. Winter most of the year, you're fighting the elements. You're at war constantly. So that's the reason why war became part of our culture.
The reason why I'm looking off into the distance is because I'm thinking of the show Vikings that was on A&E and History Channel. And when it started out, it was, look at all these, barbaric people, and they're going to this Christian monastery and they're tearing down all these shrines and they're stealing the gold, they're stealing this. But then it took a couple seasons to when they actually went to England and Umbra, where they started to peel that away and say, no, we're looking for land. We're looking for arable land. We're looking for land that we could farm on. You see us as these thugs that you can hire to fight your personal wars as mercenaries. But we're more than that. We're people who just want to raise our families. And that is the narrative which, I don't know. It resonated with me because I look at American citizens and how they're struggling to make ends meet and pay their bills. And you almost want to say, if you had a better community or a better sense of community, you would realize you're poor. And there's no shame in that. There's actual strength in that, because that means if you admit you're poor, then you admit you need help.
Yeah.
And
And
that's very
I'm the
powerful.
first one to admit I've got psychological issues. I'm not dangerous, but I've got
Mhm.
psychological issues. I carry around weapons, yeah, because I got to protect my damn self. But do you know how many times I've went walking down the road and because I lost weight, people think I'm a meth head or something like that? And around here in Southeast Texas, and especially the Bible Belt and in the South, people get attacked for that. They're not left alone. Your bullies don't leave after high school if you're like me. In fact, they get more dangerous because half of them
Yeah.
are drunk. I've been hit by cars at least 4 or 5 times because people have purposely, except for 2 occasions where they were distracted on cell phones, people have purposely tried to run me over. Why? Because I was the weird kid. I was the kid that brought snakes and alligators and bullfrogs to school. And, you know, I was the kid that sat in the corner and was quiet until the teacher wanted a response and nobody else could give it. And then all of a sudden I give a college level explanation. You know,
You should have been protected better. But now you have an opportunity to do that for other people. Now I
that's what
know
I'm trying.
that you're helping this one person here, the Rainbow Longship, but that drive you have for that person, you need to redirect that to the people in your own community, because they need to hear your story. You need to actually go to PTA meetings and talk to parents, because if they don't know what this over medication does to their kids, then you can tell them, this is my story. This is my story. I was a kid just like yours, and you had a choice to make. You had the choice of, well, we could do one more walk, we could do one less sugary drink, we could do like an earlier nap time and let you get more rest. We can do a lot of things before we just turn into pop a pill and shut the fuck up.
Well, now, when I got into junior high, they started some different techniques because my mom started getting involved and they started taking me, they took me off the medication. So
Mm-hmm.
I ended up actually finding an amazing counselor by the name of Robin. And he
Yeah.
was like, he had me tested. And before I ever even got out of fifth grade, I tested at a 132 IQ, which
Of course
typically
you're
comes
smart.
with insanity. Well, um, I ended up doing my thing. And he told her, look, Rhonda, if you let him pick, which Rhonda's my mama's name, he was like, if you let
Mm-hmm.
him pick his topics, or if the school will understand that they've got to work around the way his brain functions, there he would be a genius. He'd be a straight A student. He said, honestly, I believe the education system's holding your son back. And
Yes.
that was when they took me off of medication, and he was pushing and pushing and pushing for me to be elevated to a higher grade. He wanted me up 3 or 4 grades. He wanted me to graduate high school before I was 14. But
That would have been a completely different direction for you.
yes, but the what stood my way, brain damage and numbers. I couldn't comprehend math very well. That's what stopped me. I didn't have the math skills. But I'm not afraid to admit that. I mean, you get zapped by a power line, something's gonna happen. I'm just lucky I'm not dead. What saved
Mm.
me was my feet jerked and I was no longer on the tree limb that I was standing on. So I kind of fell out the tree. And that's what yanked my grip away from the power line. But it was there long enough to cause nerve damage and some brain damage. And that's
Oh
where my
God.
journey down being mentally ill and stuff like that started. It wasn't something I was born into. That's another thing I'm trying to bring in, guys. Like fighters, professional MMA fighters, boxers.
Mm.
Look at them. Like, here's a great example: Muhammad Ali. His Parkinson's was caused by too many punches to the head. That was even told to him by
Pugilist
some.
disease. That they neglect to talk about Parkinson's as a pugilist disease. It's a fighting man's disease.
Yep. And I don't have Parkinson's, but because of being shot, twice, being stabbed multiple times, ran over multiple times, attempted to be
The
hung,
subconcussive.
electrocuted,
Yeah.
envenomated, blown up, and almost starved to death on multiple occasions. And that's just part of the list. That's why I messed up.
You need to be out there helping people, showing them, not only the dark side but also the light, that you survive and you're strong. You're really
I try.
strong.
I try to be.
Did you
I'll
ever know
admit
you're
there
my
are certain
hero?
things I'm weak on. There are certain things I'm weak on. Like, don't ask me to control myself in front of a sushi bar. But no, I'm gonna load that plate up, dude. I'm gonna hog out like I'm a fat ass again. But that's just because I love sushi. And not only that, but don't ask me to control myself around a snake or something. I'm gonna want to pick it up. I'm gonna want to play with it. I'm gonna want to look at it. That's my thing.
I think we're
Everybody
the
else is
same
running.
way.
Yeah, but yours is trouser snakes. That's a different subject. Okay, I'm not on.
I was distracted.
I'm not on
There
the
were
hump.
a few times. There were a few times when there were cute guys like pass me by. I'm like, I know I'm on camera right now, but I want to say hello.
You're terrible, man.
I
You're
know,
terrible.
I know I shouldn't, but I mean, when in Rome, what are you gonna do? Be rude?
You do you, boo boo. But you know how it is, though, man. When you're an outcast, everybody seems to make it their own personal business to throw yours out everywhere. I have
Yeah.
been 100% transparent with everything I do.
I
That's
know
why I gave
you
my
are.
full name and my birthday and told them, go look me up on the federal databanks. You'll find 2 arrests, one for knives being held at school, no charges pressed, no courtroom entered, because I was a kid trying to sell knives to get food for winter. Cops didn't care. I still finished out my high school. Same year, didn't have to hold back. So then on top of that, you'll find an arrest for paraphernalia in Louisiana, where I got caught with a glass pipe and a grinder I bought in uh Denver, Colorado. God, I can't remember why I couldn't say Denver. But yeah, I bought it in Denver, Colorado, because the only place we stopped was a gas station. And the only thing other than the typical bull crap, I went to Colorado and all I got was this dumb t-shirt kind of shit. I found this pipe that was shaped like a mountain range, and I found a grinder that had a picture of the Donner Party on it. And it said time for the munchies. So I bought it. Because I like, old stories like that. And the Donner Party is one that I've always been interested in. And I didn't realize that where we had stopped, this particular gas station was on the
Hmm.
route of the Donner Party. So that's why they had it there. So I bought those. I got busted in Louisiana with them, and you can't have paraphernalia in Louisiana at the time. So I got a misdemeanor seatbelt ticket. I paid $75. I spent one night in jail. I pleaded guilty to that because yeah, they caught me. What else was I gonna fucking do? When he found it, I went, yeah, I forgot about that. He said, why do you have this? I said, because I'm moving down from
It's a
Washington State. And I
souvenir.
bought it.
Like honestly, it's a souvenir. Like I mean, look, you had a shitty lawyer. If you had a better
No, I
lawyer,
didn't
your
have a
lawyer
lawyer
would
at
have
all. I didn't
said,
bother with
"How
lawyers.
could you resist? How could you resist as a regular person holding that kind of history? History.
Yeah,
Like
I get it.
that's a historical item more than it is a one for paraphernalia. But that's a historical item.
I've still got some to remind me of the trip, though. Like I've got a big giant chunk of unrefined, unpolished tiger's eye that I found in
What?
Utah. We stopped on the side of this old road that was literally
Hmm.
just a trail, and we slept there for the night. Well, I woke up the next morning. Of course, any guy on here knows as soon as you wake up, you got to drain the lizard. Well, I
Yeah,
went to go
yeah.
do that, stubbed my toe on that SOB, and was like, "Oh, what the hell?" So I dug it up and went to throw it because I was in a bad mood because back hurt and everything like that because I'm sleeping in the
Hmm.
bed of a truck on top of all of my shit. So not
Yeah.
comfortable night. Well, I went to pick it up and throw it, and then I got a good look at it, and I went, "You're coming home with me." And I've had it ever since. You know, I think it's down here. Yeah, here it is.
Oh my God.
I stubbed my toe on that end. So I yanked it out with my knife, and it's a giant chunk of freaking tiger's eye, man. And I was just like, mine.
Oh my.
So yeah, I've got stuff to. I've got a giant chunk of amethyst that's like freaking huge.
That's mine now.
I know it's yours now. Lifelink.
Which is why I want to go back to my earlier statement of memories or museum. At some point, you have to think what is more practical, what is more functional. I mean, if you're going to be doing bushcraft, you're going to want to be out in nature teaching all these courses. At a certain point, you just say, well, shouldn't your town, after everything is done to you and with you, should just declare your spot as a historical spot? You're a local hero. Do you know that?
Well, they don't think that, but thank you, man.
They need
Now,
to.
Rainbow Longship just popped back in. They're asking if they could join the stream if you know any way they can.
I do. You're not going to like it, but I do.
Okay.
My name is Ian Ileana. I'm an environmentalist, a human rights activist, mutant werewolf OU. I'm a veteran with PTSD from military sexual trauma. This is Clint Gage. I am going to talk to Clint in an email, and he is going to forward that email to Longship, and Longship is going to be on this channel. You understand what I'm saying?
All right, let's see what we can do.
I'll see you on the next